Recording in progress.
Good evening. Time being 7 o'clock, I call the June 5th, 2024 meeting of the Franklin Town Council to order. Please pause for a moment of silence. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Announcements from the chair. A note to all residents, all citizens are welcome to attend public meetings in person. To view the live meeting remotely, citizens are encouraged to watch the live stream on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel or the live broadcast on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29. Meetings are also archived by Franklin TV on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel and shown on repeat on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29 for those who missed the live meetings. To listen to the meeting remotely, citizens may call in using the number 929-205-6099. This will not permit participation in the meeting. To participate in the meeting remotely, citizens are able to join a Zoom webinar using the information provided. The Zoom webinar ID is 896-3032-0089. Once again, the Zoom ID 896-3032-0089. Then you need to hit the pound sign. Any participants who wish to speak during the webinar must enter their full name and email address when joining the webinar. All participants will be automatically muted upon joining the webinar. In order to speak, participants who have entered full name and email address will need to select the raise hand function to request to be unmuted. All speakers will be required to state their full name and street address before commenting. Other upcoming events, Franklin Downtown Partnership Strawberry Stroll is this Friday, June 7th, with the rain date of June 8th from 4 to 8 p.m. And before heading out for the Strawberry Stroll, you can stop by the Franklin Farmers Market. The season kicks off this Friday, June 7th, on the Town Common. Stop by Fridays from 2 to 6 p.m., running June through October. I have just an update on the special town election, but I'm going to ask our town clerk, who I think is, oh, there she is. If you just come up, Nance, and give us an update, please.
All righty. So good evening, Mr. Chairman, council members. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. So my name is Nancy Dinello, and I'm your town clerk. And I'm here tonight to give an update. We're 6 days away, 6 days. We've had, so Franklin's got a total of 33,384 residents with 24,891 registered voters. So far, we've had 3,815 voters cast their vote by mail or in person. That's pretty good. That's about 15%. And we still have 6 days. So I don't think that's bad for a local election. It's been a steady stream of voters coming into the office, and we're pretty excited to see what the close of absentee voting on Monday, June 10th at noontime will bring us. We've actually placed bets on how many people are going to come out and vote. I'll tell you who won. I'll tell you, I know, right? I'll tell you who won. So apparently, there are some rumors floating around on social media about when we open the ballots and if the votes are counted prior to Election Day. So I'm sorry this is going to be lengthy, and I apologize. Sorry, Tom. I just want to go over the process for a local election. So similar to state primaries and state elections, the state does allow us to open and tabulate the ballots prior to Election Day. I opted not to do that. Everything is going to be opened Election Day. So I want to just go over the process. And I know this is going to be boring, but sorry. Once a ballot is received by mail or in person, we enter the ballot into the state voter registration system. Now, when I say we enter the ballot, what I mean is we update the voter's status to voted. Then we continue this process throughout the day. At the end of the day, you're going to hear this word a lot. We do an audit of all the ballots that have been processed that day. And we do the audit based on the precinct. So everybody that comes in to vote gets audited that day. Once the audit is complete, those ballots get wrapped up with the specific precinct ballot audit and then locked into the vault and sealed. This obviously happens on a daily basis. On Election Day, the police are going to come to the office really early in the morning, and they're going to retrieve all of the ballots cast and the official ballots for the day of voting. They will then deliver all of the ballots in their sealed bins to the specific precincts. The precinct wardens will be sitting at the table awaiting their bin, and they will then verify, open the bin, and of course, break the seal on the bin, verify the number of that seal, and the police will present that to the precinct warden. The wardens will then present all of the envelopes to our check-in election employees, where they will then enter the ballots into the poll pads. Once the ballot envelopes are processed through the poll pads, which is basically just checking in the ballot, just like you do. When you go in to vote, you're going to give them your name, and they're going to check you in. We do the same thing with the envelopes. We read out their names, and they're going to check them into the poll pads. The reason we do that is because, obviously, those ballots are then going to be processed through the tabulator. So we want to, again, audit the poll pad to the tabulator. And if we didn't do that, wouldn't balance. So back to the still intact envelopes. They're then returned to the wardens once they're processed through the poll pads, and then they're going to open the envelopes. This process is completed in the gym, right in front of their precincts for everybody to watch. The envelopes are open face down. We don't know who the voter is. We don't look. Honestly, we don't care. We have almost 4,000 ballots, so we're not looking at the voter and looking to see how they voted. So no one knows how a voter voted except for that voter. So once the envelopes are open and the ballots are taken out of the envelopes face down, the warden will then proceed to the tabulator with the police officer, and they will insert the ballots into the tabulator. Short version, no ballots are open prior to Election Day, and yes, all votes are processed on Election Day. One more thing, I cannot stress enough. Please, if anybody has any questions, don't ask them on social media. Call me, 508-520-4900. Would you go to social media for a medical question? No, call us. A lot of misinformation on social media. We're available all the time. We're always in the office. Call us. Most of you have my cell phone number, and if you don't, it's on the website. Feel free to call me, day or night, weekend, it doesn't matter. Thank you. I appreciate it. Bye.
Thanks, Nancy. Thank you, Nancy. Okay, moving on. Next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. Citizens are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes on a matter that is not on the agenda. The council will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during citizens' comments. The town council will give remarks appropriate consideration and may ask the town administrator to review the matter. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Mark, please.
Thank you. Mark Minichelli, 31 Longfellow Drive here in Franklin. I just want to share some information with the council regarding a meeting that myself and Steve Dodarian, another member of Energize Franklin, had with Jamie Helen on May 15th. And this is in regards to the business case for the sustainability coordinator position that Jamie had originally proposed in the budget and then subsequently removed. And we think that there's a good, strong business case to reinsert that into next year's budget. Basically, just some of the high points that we covered with Jamie. There are a number of Massachusetts communities that have added sustainability directors, and that those sustainability directors have often realized annual return on investment 4 to 8 times the costs of their salary to their municipalities. Having an individual who's focused on cost-saving capital projects, as well as applying for and winning sustainability-related grants, can bring this money in to our town. The experiences that other communities have had teach us that this position is most effective when reporting directly to the administrator, so that they are able to sit in to all of the department head meetings and contribute in that way. And identifying the right individual is absolutely critical to being successful with this position. So we put a paper together that shows some data from other communities. I've shared that with Administrator Helen, and I can make that available to the town council as well if you'd like. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Okay, is there anyone out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? See anybody, Amy Deal? Okay, moving on. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from April 10th, 2024.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, additions, deletions. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I now entertain a motion to approve the minutes from April 24th, 2024.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, additions, deletions. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the last one, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from May 1st, 2024.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, additions, deletions. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda is proclamations and recognitions, and we do have one this evening. We have our annual visit from Electric Youth and the Franklin School for the Performing Arts. And I'll walk around.
You can head right out there. I'm Raylyn Mercer, founder and director of the Franklin School for the Performing Arts. I'm here tonight with Electric Youth as we get ready to embark on a 3.5-week European concert tour. We leave on July 2nd, and we'll be performing 13 concerts in Belgium, then over to France to Normandy. As we all know, tomorrow is the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and we'll be performing and visiting the World War II sites and performing in St. Mary Lease, in the center of a town that was the first town to be liberated by the Allies on D-Day. A really meaningful part of our trip. We're sorry we won't be in Franklin on the 4th of July, but we'll be in France celebrating Bastille Day on the 14th of July in the Normandy region, then over into the mountains from the French Alps to the Swiss Alps, on to Zermatt, where we'll perform 2 shows looking at the Matterhorn, and then closing at Lake Como. I'm afraid we don't have any spots for people to come along this time, but it's a fabulous trip, but these young people work very, very hard to earn the opportunity to go on this trip. And although we perform with an 8-piece band, and you can see them in a Bon Voyage show on June 21st or 22nd at the Black Box, tonight we have an a cappella song that we will use to say thank you to people who welcome us in their communities or into their restaurants or homes as we travel through Europe. This was arranged by Broadway performer Jim Hogan, custom arrangement for Electric Youth. Your turn, Mr.
My turn. We don't work well together. Proclamation honoring Electric Youth on the occasion of their 2024 European tour. Whereas Franklin is home to the Franklin School for the Performing Arts and his extremely talented musical theater ensemble known as Electric Youth, and whereas this exceptional group of young performers will be embarking on their 2024 European tour in July, where they will perform with the renowned Boston Show Band throughout Belgium, France, Switzerland, and Italy. I don't get invited. With special appearances at Bastille Day celebrations and in Normandy during the 80th anniversary recognition of D-Day. Whereas during their time overseas, Electric Youth will assume the role of ambassadors of America's youth and will proudly represent the Franklin School for the Performing Arts and the town of Franklin as they travel using the power of the arts to connect with communities abroad. Now therefore be it known that the Electric Youth Musical Theater Ensemble is recognized with pride and best wishes by the Town Council of the town of Franklin as they set out on their 2024 European tour as ambassadors of America's youth and representatives of Franklin. Signed, Thomas D. Mercer, Chairman, Franklin Town Council.
I'm from Norfolk. I'm graduating from King Philip Regional High School on Sunday, and I will be attending Boston University in the fall.
My name is Finley Doherty. I will be graduating from Mount St. Charles Academy, and in the fall I will be attending Villanova University. My name is Anya Fox. I just graduated from Franklin High School, and in the fall I'll be attending Boston Conservatory for Dance.
My name is Macy Gopin. I just graduated from Medway High School, and I will be attending Elon University in the fall and studying musical theater.
My name is Hannah Connors. I just graduated from Hopkins High School, and I'll be attending Boston University in the fall.
I'm Liam Nolan Hayun. I'm a sophomore at Franklin High School.
I'm Devin DeAngelis. I live in Bellingham, and I'm a junior at Medway High School.
I'm Devin Curley, and I'm a junior at Franklin High School.
I'm Catherine LeBlanc, and I'm a sophomore at King Philip High School.
I'm Ani Corcoran, and I just finished at Whitensville Christian Middle School.
I'm Ashley Pepin, and I just graduated from Franklin High School, and I will be attending the College of Charleston in the fall.
trip, guys.
Good luck.
Safe travels.
It's nice to get a nice audience.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Okay. All right, moving on. Next item on the agenda, appointments. We have none this evening. Public hearings. The first public hearing is on Resolution 24-36, Verizon New England Incorporated Cable License Renewal. I will declare that public hearing open. Jamie, you want to?
On the Verizon?
Yeah.
So through you, Mr. Chairman, this is pretty straightforward. There's a summary of the agreement. This is for cable subscribers. Later on, we'll get into another Verizon issue.
Right.
But just to give you some highlights, the Verizon contract, which allows citizens to subscribe to Verizon TV. A couple years ago, we reauthorized the Comcast agreement. In Franklin, which is not the case for every community, Franklin actually does have two choices. Does have competition. A lot of communities actually only have one cable service provider. Of note, which I think was interesting, Verizon cable subscribers as of the end of last year was 3,551. And just to note, as Bill has put into the agreement, Comcast has 3,552. So Comcast has just the edge by one subscriber in town. Maybe this agreement might change that, but this is an agreement for 5 years and brings us through June of 2029. And really the meat of the proposal, it doesn't really change anything about Verizon prices. We don't have any control over what rates they set. The one thing you do have control over, this provides basically all the funding needed for Franklin TV. So if we value our community cable access station, and we value the coverage of all the athletic games, if we value being able to have access on YouTube and having Chris over here in the booth do all of our meetings, this gives 5% of gross revenues from Verizon to the local cable access. I gotta say, in this marketplace, given where we've come in the last 5 years, I definitely never thought that we would be able to maintain that. But I give a lot of credit to the legal team, Bill Solomon, who's on the call right now on Zoom, for being able to negotiate that. The second piece is that they're maintaining their commitment to high definition channels. They're maintaining their commitment, because I know people love DVRing the council meetings, right? So you can still continue to DVR your favorite sports games, school committee meetings, planning board meetings, council meetings, and watch them later. And it also invests just a hair under $275,000 in 3 upfront installments over 3 years of capital equipment, which is really key. That capital number is a little lower than the last agreement 5 years ago, but we were able to negotiate an agreement where they're able to pay that in 3 installments in the first 3 years of the 5-year agreement, whereas the last time it was spread out over the life of the contract. So. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, that's really the big piece. I know the agreement is like 200 pages long or something like that, but you know, the summary, the 2-page summary on the top really does the trick. So happy to answer any questions that folks have.
Thank you, Jamie. Where this is a public hearing, I will go to the public first. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on this resolution? Name and address, please, familiar face.
Yes, Steve Sherlock, 13 Magnolia. As a volunteer for the cable operation, 2 things concern me as well. The numbers of subscribers have been declining. So while we get income for Franklin TV and radio to do its thing, the numbers are going down, so we're having to struggle to meet our budget requirements. The capital will also help us because, as most or some people may be aware, there's also now a studio on the 3rd floor in the training room that is fully enabled. So now we have 2 studios. Where did that money come from? This. And if we want to do more, we need that kind of money to enable us to continue to do what we do. And as Jamie mentioned, the live sports, I think the lacrosse is playing today. Boys high school baseball apparently ended yesterday, unfortunately. So the seasons are winding down now. But the next fall and winter, spring sports, all of those particularly have been enabled for us to broadcast, and now putting them up on YouTube, parents and families around the country can see those events as well. So it's not just, kind of the local Franklin. It is important for all of us. And it's also important for your information to get out. And then to go back and what did he say when? What did she say when? What did they do? This is an archive, as mentioned. It's on YouTube since, I think it's 22 forward on YouTube. So it's there and growing on a regular basis. We endorse it. We're concerned about the decline in enrollment. And as a member of the board on the TV radio studio, we're also looking for other ways we can generate revenue. Because at some point in time, that will continue to go down. And there's also a clause in there that after 3 years, Verizon also has an option to opt out. So 5 years is what the deal is, but there's also a clause in there for 3 years to opt out, and that's concerning as well. But we'll take it, and just wanted to let the community aware. And the next item in terms of the funding is the regular funding. That's on the agenda later. And that gives us the wherewithal to do what we need to do on a regular basis. So, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak or have a question on Resolution 24-36? Is there anyone out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on Resolution 24-36?
There's one hand on.
It's Bill Solomon.
It's the attorney.
Oh, okay.
Bill, I think we're all set if,
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, just if you would enter the legal notice into the record that went into the
Oh, sure.
newspaper, that'd be great. Thank you.
sure,
Okay.
lawyers. So, there was a legal notice that was included in the packet. We're required by law to give a 14-day notice, I believe it is. And that was included in there, and it was a part of the hearing notice in the Metro West Daily News.
Great. Thanks so
Bill.
much.
Sorry
Thank you,
about
Ms. No, all set. Thank you very much.
Thank
Great
you, Bill.
summary.
Any other, I don't see anybody else out in Zoom land, do you? Okay, I'll go to the council. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is fully supportive of this. Just Attorney Solomon, do you think you can tell your friends at Verizon Wireless about all of our challenges here in Franklin? Because I know you're different companies, but we have an awful lot of blackout areas throughout Franklin where the cell phone coverage drops. So that'd be fantastic if you could pass that note along. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Oh,
Actually, I have better news on that under town administrator's report.
okay. It sounded like he was the Verizon attorney. I
No.
apologize,
No,
but
he's ours.
maybe he could still pass that note along.
Anyone who will listen.
Because I haven't gotten anywhere with calling Verizon. So.
Yeah,
Right. I'll send you the billable hour.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
any other councilors? Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is really just to piggyback off of what Mr. Sherlock was talking about. I don't know if many people realize that this Verizon cable license renewal, along with Comcast's cable license renewal, portions of the funding that come from this, again, as Steve's mentioned earlier, goes to support local public access television, a lot of the real cool stuff that gets done around here, and it's been going on for years. I know cable is kind of a dinosaur in this day and age. The internet's kind of taken over. But, Mr. Chairman, through you to the town administrator, has there ever been any talk about the same type of agreements with, say, internet providers? I know it's a long shot, but looking for additional funding revenues to kind of keep this type of access programming going. Since many of the media stuff went from cable per se to internet, is there any way to kind of cross over?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, it's a great question. My gut instinct and educated guess tells me no. From the simple reality that cable TV came into an era previous to a heavy level of deregulation at the federal level. Remember, a lot of this is regulated at the federal level. But to your question, though, I do know the state legislature, I do know Rep. Roy and others have been trying to work on legislation to maintain the local cable footprint. This is not obviously unique to just us. And I know that at meetings, and I think Steve can maybe, back up this claim too, they've been working on legislation around this issue in preparation for maybe 5, 6, 7 years down the line to try to preserve local cable access TV, which is, I think, what most of us kind of want.
Absolutely.
But also on the regulatory level, my educated guess again tells me that the wireless internet providers probably wouldn't want to get into these agreements. It's just my guess, but if I find out other information on that, I'll
It's just
certainly
worth
pass it
asking.
on. Yeah, it's a great question, and it would be fantastic for us, but I don't think those organizations these days probably like a lot of regulation. Paying out money they don't have to. It's just a guess. We'll talk about this a little later in the agenda too, because we have a lease that we have to reauthorize for our community, so that the wireless company can actually maintain the same issue that Councilor Cormier Ledger was talking about a little while ago.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Any other councilors? Seeing none, I will declare the public hearing on Resolution 24-36 closed. And we'll move right to legislation for action. Resolution 24-36, Verizon New England Incorporated Cable License Renewal. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-36, Verizon New England Incorporated Cable License Renewal, whereas the Franklin Town Council has considered the needs of the town of Franklin for competitive cable television services and for funding the operation of its Cable Access Corporation, and has negotiated with Verizon New England Incorporated based upon these considerations to renew its cable license. Now therefore be it ordered by the Franklin Town Council, acting on behalf of the town of Franklin, that the local cable license issued to Verizon New England Incorporated be renewed upon the terms and conditions contained in the proposed cable television renewal license agreement, and that the town administrator be authorized to execute said document and to take any other actions necessary to effectuate the renewal of said cable license. This resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-36.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Nope, all set.
All set? Any councilors? Any questions? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-36. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move back to zoning bylaw, public hearing, zoning bylaw amendment 24-905, zoning map changes from single-family residential 3 to business, an area on or near King Street. I will declare that public hearing open. Mr. Evans, did you want to?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, just really quickly, Mr. Chairman. So, just for the rest of the council and the public, this legislation came before the council prior. It was caught between the election, so there wasn't a full vote. The council sent this back to the planning board. The planning board has sent back a recommendation to all of you, and that is why we have to have another public hearing tonight. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew why we had to have the second public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jamie. Joe.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, and members of the town council. Nice to be back in front of you again on this matter. Again, my name is Joe Evans. I'm a lifelong Franklin resident, and I'm here with my business partner, Dusty Burke. We've both been involved in numerous successful commercial real estate projects in the town of Franklin. I know there's a hearty agenda tonight, and I have a few things I'll speak about, and I'll do them as quickly as I can due to all the hearings that are behind me, I understand. So, again, I represent American East Coast 1. We own 634 King Street in Franklin, and we're attempting to ask for a rezone of 634 King Street and 648 King Street, consisting of 1.4 acres of land, which you see up on the screen of on the southerly side of King Street, the blue, the two blue parcels would be the parcels in question. We purchased this property, 634 King Street, in September after having favorable discussions with town officials, including Jamie Helen, Amy Love, and Gus Brown. The property's gone undeveloped due to its current zoning of single-family residential. Right now, we can only build really a single-family home on that site. Zone change proposal initially went to the Economic Development Committee, who voted 4-0 to recommend the zone change to the council. I'd just like to remind the members of that board, specifically Councilors Hamblin, Jones, Frangillo, and Sheridan, who all supported the proposal at that time. They also cited specific examples of success in other areas of town where precisely the same thing was done. In terms of the surrounding area and the uses, these properties subject to the amendment are bordered to the east by the King Street Fire Station, a 24-hour facility, to the west by an 81-unit senior assisted living facility, a 24-hour facility, and that property is to the left of the blue square. It's on the map. It is orange. However, that is actually run as a commercial site. We're bordered to the south by Northbridge EMC office facility, who has, by the way, just filed a notice of intent with the Conservation Commission. That was recently just sold. And we're bordered to the north by King Street and a 295,000 square foot warehouse that will be built diagonal on the map in the blue area to the north. So right now, it doesn't look, nothing's being done there, but very soon there's going to be quite a bit going on over on that side of the street. Single-family residence is simply not appropriate here. It's not practical for livability due to the heavy traffic, the surrounding industrial commercial uses, and the 24-hour fire station activity. Given the proximity, the property's proximity to the on and off ramps of Interstate 495, it is a highly desirable location for business use to serve the current traffic to and from 495 and to serve the residents of South Franklin. And I can't help but bring up, I watched the master plan committee from last week, and one of the big topics of that meeting was talking about implementing mixed use commercial type development into neighborhoods. And there was strong arguments for it. The reason I bring that up is this particular property is not plopped down into a middle of a neighborhood. It is on the outskirts of a neighborhood, which makes it even more desirable to use it as a commercial use. It will serve those residents of that South Franklin neighborhood. However, it won't be plopped down in the middle of their neighborhood. It's 300 feet off the off-ramps of the highway. Couple other notes here on reasons for supporting a zone change. Development of the property adjacent to the on-off ramps of 495 is highly desirable in the marketplace. With development would come an enhancement to the tax base and revenues to the town. Additional jobs. It would also serve to alleviate an overburdened commercial district and associated traffic east of the area at the Union Street and King Street intersections. Driving across or under 495, crossing 495 from King Street, from the highway, getting off the off ramps, coming down from Washington Street to cross over to King Street to use one of those businesses at the intersection of Union and King requires going through up to 8 traffic lights to go 4 to go and 4 on the way back to either get on the highway or to get back to your residence. Also want to point out that this would not be, if this was rezoned, this would not be a destination retail location. This is not going to create more traffic. This is going to alleviate traffic. This is going to serve the traffic that's at that that is already there. The other side of the highway is dealing with a congested intersection at King and Union. And if you want to drive over to King and Union, as I said, you have to go through all these traffic lights and come back through those traffic lights to get back. Having a business use on this side of the highway is going to eliminate a lot of that traffic to go get a coffee or to go get gas or whatever it is, or whatever the use is, the ultimate use at the site would be. You're gonna hear tonight from some of others, respectfully. You'll hear opposition to a gas station, and I would just like to remind you that this hearing is not to review one particular use, nor is it to review a site plan. I would ask you keep that in mind and just not jump ahead to that. The question here tonight is the site better as a residential site, or is it better served the town as a business zone site? Again, any proposed uses will go through the application process that is in place. Technical review, design review, planning board, a zoning board of appeals. Any uses that require a special permit, which would be a gas station, which would be a drive-through, which would be anything like that, a car wash. Those will be scrutinized through a special permit process through the planning board. If it doesn't, if those uses don't meet those levels, those guidelines, then the planning board has a bite at that apple. And the review process should not be done tonight, but rather at the appropriate time, if and when a site plan application is submitted to the town. And I'd just like to respectfully remind the council that you have a duty to serve the needs and residents of all the residents of Franklin, and not just the abutters opposed here tonight, but everybody that doesn't come, who doesn't have a direct interest as an abutter in the site, but will benefit from the site in numerous different ways. So I would ask that respectfully that you support this proposal, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Okay, again, this is a public hearing, and I know we've already had one on this, so it's, a lot has been said before, but it is a public hearing. So is there anyone in the in council chambers that would like to speak? Please come forward and just name and address, please.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Ian Duff, 680 King Street. Good evening, Chairman Mercer, members of the Town Council. Thank you for your time. If you recall my family, we love Franklin and support smart growth. The change in front of you helps the realtor, but hurts residents. I'll try to be quick about some points for you to consider, and my wife has graciously ceded her time. Business uses are out of character for this site. You've heard the argument. It's not a residential site, but that's not true. It's single-family zoned. It has a family living on it. It has 2 homes abutting across the street, and the enclave abutting to the west is the residence of dozens of our most vulnerable neighbors. What does it tell you that the Nasutis, the residents and owners of the other parcel, haven't advocated for this change in any of these hearings? It tells me they'd prefer to keep living there. This isn't some innocent request to save an abandoned parcel. It's been about building a gas station, drive-through, or other high-traffic VSC since the beginning, and Mr. Evans spent months soliciting town staff support for his idea and establishing the contract with the homeowners before buying the property from Cumberland Farms. This is all public record. Talking about zoning first paves the way for the real changes later. We should be talking about a variance or a special permit for a specific plan, but we're not, because the end goal is too far out of character to replace a family home on our street. And if you hear the argument that we shouldn't be talking about a specific use while the petitioners pull projected revenue out of thin air, let's take what Mr. Burke said to you last time. A commercially viable, professional, retail building on the site at a minimum, end quote. With context that commercially viable means large enough, specifically so large as to exceed the permeability requirements in neighborhood commercial. Imagine living in a long-established single-family zone and your neighbor's house is going to turn into that. It's not like other changes in town. The footprint of the new zoning map and whom the change benefits make it look like illegal spot zoning. Last time you patiently heard us out, there was conversation within the council around caring for the people or caring for the money for the people's sake. Land court in our state has an answer to that exact question in McLeod versus Swampscott. Zoning changes must be in the interest of public welfare, And, most importantly, the concept of public welfare does not include tax or sale revenue. No one is forcing their hand to ask for all this, and the idea that the zoning must change or the parcel stays fallow is a false dilemma. People are making money all over the Commonwealth developing property of every kind. I've supported low-impact commercial or multifamily all along. Before Mr. Evans' unbecoming conduct at the last planning board meeting, where they unanimously voted not to recommend this, that body expressed support for higher density residential. Please note that after all this public pushback, the petitioners could simply say that they will not attempt to build a gas station next to these homes and wetlands, but tellingly, they won't say that. Please also note our petition that's been submitted, Christina's petition. I'm sure you'll hear from her in a second. The public benefit arguments you're hearing are just marketing, saving us time at traffic lights and alleviating Union Street traffic aren't based on any data. There have been no studies of any kind and no demonstration of unmet need. Any claims like these need to evaluate the local demand for specific uses that would affect traffic patterns. The statements don't even stand up to common sense. The roadways aren't changing, but there's another retail destination, so we end up with more people getting off the highway and more net cars. But finally, please vote no on this bylaw because of the physical reality of the site. Curb to curb, it is 39 feet wide at the beginning of the site and 49 feet wide at the boundary of the fire station. Traffic already backs up to Forest Street every morning. 555 King Street warehouse traffic will be added. The site in question will not support the kinds of high traffic uses a business zone allows. And if you change this zoning, we'll live with those uses in perpetuity long after Mr. Evans has made his money and moved on. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on this resolution? Oh.
Hi.
Please, name and address, please.
Christina Prococo, 637 King Street. So I just want to start, before I get into this, and I won't take much of your time. I talked quite a bit last time. So I am the parcel directly across the street from the two parcels that we're talking about. I am very intimately, I'm very involved in the traffic that is experienced at this site. It is extreme at rush hour. I'm sure all of us are Franklin residents. We've probably all been on King Street during rush hour. It often takes me 5-10 minutes to get out of my driveway during rush hour, and it is dangerous. So I just wanted to highlight that. I don't think that saying that creating a business zone here is not going to route more traffic to this area. So I just want to start with that. But as Ian mentioned, I did create a change.org petition. This was in response to Mr. Evans, who also created a change.org petition. His petition received 62 votes as of yesterday, and our petition received a total of 252 total votes, with 138 from Franklin and the surrounding Mass towns. I also wanted to touch on something that Mark Minichelli, who is here, also a Franklin resident, he mentioned in the last meeting, the planning board meeting, that I found very impactful. He mentioned that zoning changes should have a strong, legitimate, important reason for that change. People buy their properties with the expectations of zoning in place, and I definitely attest to that. If this were a business across the street from my house, would I have bought my house there? Probably not. And then beyond that, you've already heard everything that I had to say last time, all of my concerns. So I'm going to step aside from that, and I just wanted to highlight some of the impactful statements from your own Franklin Planning Board members. I'm sure some of you, most of you have probably watched the last meeting, but I feel like it's important to kind of highlight these. Chris Stickney, he had concerns around the traffic safety and an increase in traffic to this area, particularly people that have to take a left turn like myself out of my driveway going on King Street. There's a bit of a blind curve there. People fly down that road. It's 40 miles an hour right at my house. It's just dangerous. Jay Mello, he went through all the by right uses of a business zone, which again, excluding talking about special permits, I won't talk about a gas station, but just things that could be built by right in this business zone. You have a bank, an office, funeral home, indoor recreation, a library, health club, a lodge, contractor's yard, manufacturing institution, bar, restaurant, retail. And he was very, very plainly said that many of these by right uses were not appropriate and would not work in this residential zone, in this area. And he also did actually touch on the fact that this could be spot zoning. He actually had a really good suggestion for Mr. Evans around maybe looking into the rural business zoning or residential zoning, exploring putting in something like a multifamily, which I thought was a good alternative. Beth Weirling had some good points. Basically in order for the planning board to be able to consider and talk about rezoning something, you need to talk about the uses, what it abuts, et cetera.
Christina, you need to
Go
finish
faster?
up.
Okay, sorry.
Well, no, because your time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that. Okay. Then I guess the last thing I will say to this, all 6 members of the planning board had a lot to say about this, and all 6 members voted not to recommend this for a second time. So please consider all of that unbiased input beyond anything else, beyond
Thank you. Please come forward. Name and address, please. And in 3 minutes, you'll hear the little alarm go.
Okay, great, thank you. First off, thank you to all of you for the work that you do. We live in a beautiful town.
Yes, we do.
We do. My name is Dave Pizzelli. I'm from 37 Forest Street. I would invite you all to consider that placing or injecting a maybe gas station or any commercial building into this specific residential area poses significant safety risks. Number one, increased traffic congestion from customers, cars, delivery trucks entering and exiting the property will most likely and at times impede the exit of emergency vehicles exiting the firehouse. Any delay in response time could jeopardize lives. We're talking about seconds. Seconds. I spoke with 4 EMTs. They all agreed. One of them jokingly commented, "But it will be convenient. We can just walk next door and get our Twinkies." Maintaining the current zoning ensures that all emergency services will operate efficiently. Any commercial use of the property would be out of character for the area. It reminds me of that song on Sesame Street when we were kids. One of these things doesn't go with the others. One of these things doesn't belong. Yeah, a maybe gas station. With an average home price of $640,000 in Franklin, it's clear there's a demand for residential properties. The developer's land investment of, I don't know, $200,000, $270,000 could still be profitable. They could not only recoup their investment, but also generate potential profits from building a single-family home. Something that would benefit all stakeholders. Is it possible they should have purchased the property contingent upon approvals? They didn't. Instead, they chose a very aggressive, high-risk strategy. Why? In conclusion, maintaining the residential zoning of the area is essential to uphold safety, preserve community harmony, protect the environment, and maintain all property values. We invite every one of you to consider this. Would you want this to happen in your residential neighborhood? Probably not. Especially not in a moment of convenience. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought I saw somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah, he's coming up.
Just name and address, please, Rick.
Rick Chestakova, I live at 627 King Street, and I believe I sent, you people should have got a letter from me, so I'll just be brief. I won't touch everything.
Okay.
One of the main reasons I'm against this rezoning to business is the fact that the traffic is a big issue.
And I understand sometime in May that they're going to start working on the warehouse up at 585 King Street. And from what I understand, there's like 250 parking spaces there and 16 trailer spaces. So when this is completed, can you imagine the amount of traffic that's going to be coming onto King Street? All right? I also heard, I think it was Mr. Evans says, who's going to buy a home next to a fire station? I live directly across the street from a fire station. Now, the property at 634 King Street, I believe could be made single-family home. The property there is basically .9798 in footage. That's almost double the size of 648 King Street. Okay, now if it went to a single-family home, I believe a young couple starting out would probably look for buying this home because you got the recreation park just up the street there. You got just on Constitution Boulevard, you got a daycare center there, and then if you go about 4/10 of a mile down the street on the 495, you have a lot of businesses. You have a gas station, you have a convenience store, you got Dunkin' Donuts, you got a saloon, and basically I say, I feel you should keep this here as residential. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rick. Name and address, please, Greg.
Yeah, Greg DeLocco, 701 King Street. We have heard several citizens passionately present a long list of concrete reasons why a gas station is a bad idea for our neighborhood. And make no mistake, a gas station is the ultimate goal of the owners of the property under consideration this evening. It is difficult to ignore the compelling arguments against such a proposal. The only argument presented in support of this zoning change is that it will provide tax revenue for the town. However, when we compare the negative impact such a change would impose on the hundreds of people who live in the area, whose health and quality of life would be unalterably compromised, to the modest benefit any tax revenue might provide, we can easily see that such a trade-off is so unequal as to render the whole idea unfair, unwise, and objectionable. Our neighborhood already does its share to support the town. It hosts an industrial park with numerous businesses who employ a considerable number of people. In addition, there is a large warehouse complex being constructed in the area. So again, we can state with all honesty and confidence that we have done and continue to do our part for the town of Franklin. I urge you to reject this proposed zoning change for all the reasons presented here tonight by so many sincere and concerned residents. It's an ill-conceived and self-serving plan. We should not be asked to surrender so much for what will surely only provide a modest benefit to the rest of the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Is there, please, name and address, please, Mark.
Thank you. Mark Minichelli, 31 Longfellow Drive in Franklin. I do not have a direct vested interest in this, but I did happen to be at the planning board meeting last month when this was discussed, and I became engaged into it. I would recommend against approval of the zoning change. I think abutters are invited to a town meeting like this for good reasons. Some of those reasons include changes that could affect their quality of life, changes that could affect their financial health, and I think they have every right to speak up on those things, and I would advise the board listen to those concerns. I would also suggest that as you look at the zoning map changes, to me, and I mentioned this at the planning board meeting as well, it reminds me of congressional redistricting maps. I mean, you see this non-contiguous body of land that is changing magically because it needs to for some reason. And I think it flags some concerns about how others might look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Is there anyone else?
I'm not sure there's anything I can add to all of this, but
Okay.
I mean, I'm totally in agreement with everything that everyone has said. But
Just name and address, please.
I'm sorry, yeah, Mike Bassignani, 9 Forest Street.
I'm a little skeptical of going forward with this because, to me, doing the rezoning before you're telling us what you're going to do with it is like signing a blank check to me. And I can't go along with that in good conscience. And not that I'm totally against any type of development, but I keep hearing gas station and convenience store. Now, I'm opposed to that sort of zoning change. In recent years, I personally had a few experiences with high-impact businesses coming into residential areas. And I own a number of residential apartment buildings in many nearby towns. Some of my locations are in Rentham and Plainville. In both of these locations, I witnessed firsthand the impact of commercial development in residential areas. They both involved gas stations with convenience stores. The developer sold the town and the abutters on the idea that they were providing a service to the community. What we got was bright lights, high traffic, congestion, litter, and noise and disturbances all day, all night long. Disturbances such as people pulling in 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, leaving their cars running with the headlights on, shining right into my tenants' bedroom windows, radios blasting loud music while they're in the store, yelling across the parking lot to their friends, motorcycles revving their engines, cars screeching tires pulling out into the road. All of this happening in the early morning hours when neighbors are trying to sleep. The lack of respect and consideration is appalling. Now, the developer didn't cause this, but you really can't police it. You can't control this. It's typical of this type of a business, a high-impact business. And let's not leave out the drug deals that regularly take place in the parking lot. These are not isolated events, but rather quite typical of this type of high-impact business. The last thing that I want to do, and I'm sure anybody involved with this wants to do, is to just invite this into our backyard. Okay, now the abutters and neighbors who are here tonight have rejected this proposal to rezone, not once but 3 times in the last 6 months. The planning board has unanimously rejected this proposal twice. Personally, having to come here once again tonight, it's not only offensive, but it's pretty obvious that this developer could care less what the residents want and what the abutters think. The message is that they will continue to come back with the intent of wearing everyone down until they get their way. Are we foolishly to believe that this relationship will improve with age once they get their foot in the door? With all the negative impact that this type of business would bring to our neighborhood, what positive benefit could possibly make it worthwhile? This type of establishment would not offer anything that residents can already get just up the street. There's already substantial traffic and congestion on the street. Any increase in vehicles attempting to enter and exit a high-impact establishment at this location would further add to the congestion. Eventually, this would no doubt incur additional expense to the town, as it would likely require modifications in the roadway. The proposal, in my opinion, is a very bad idea. It will not benefit our neighborhood. The only one who will benefit from this is the developer. And it will not be for our benefit, but rather at all of our expense. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Okay, Margaret.
Hi,
Sure, go ahead.
Margaret Ranieri. I live at
Your home address is...
6-something King Street,
Yeah.
directly opposite the subject property. I would just like to remind the council that as the property owners stated at their last meeting before you that their target tenant was Garrett's Gas Station, which is operated by Volta Oil and holds itself out as a truck stop, a large commercial truck stop. The parcel diagonally opposite the subject property, it's largely covered with wetlands and power lines, a 320-foot wide easement for the power lines, and the warehouse will be built north of the power lines, between the power lines and 495. And we have a very dense commercial roadway parallel with King Street on Route 140. And I don't see the need to start replicating that type of activity along King Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. I think there was somebody over here. Just name and address, please.
Yeah, my name is Sally Grant. I'm from 660 King Street. I'm an abutter to the property in question, 2 properties in question.
You've received my bullet points before, they're being passed out again, so they're there for your review. I think a couple points that I just want to quickly make is, just one to reiterate that although you see a large blue zone, that most of that blue zone on the top of the picture is the wetlands and everything. So the impact to King Street, once you hit the fire station, the lights there, everything, including the fire station, everything from then on is residential. People at the fire station, they reside there. It's not a residential zone, but it is a community and fellow members of our community that will be impacted highly by this. And the nursing home is not sort of commercial. It's residentially zoned. So I don't know what sort of commercial means. It's a residentially zoned property that has residents residing there. And they will be impacted significantly by any kind of high traffic. And most importantly, all of Franklin will be impacted because potentially I regularly see the driveway to the fire station blocked. And I have seen fire vehicles not being able to exit the driveway with the current amount of traffic. An increased amount of traffic might increase that incidence and therefore impact all residents of Franklin. And also to say that this would be a value add. Financially, you would maybe gain some tax revenue. You don't gain commercial revenue because it's zoned the same. It's taxed the same. And you would lose revenue on what might decrease in all the other people's property values. We bought thinking we were buying in a neighborhood, and this spot rezoning would change that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on this issue? Okay, is there anyone out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on this zoning bylaw amendment? I don't see anyone. Okay, I'll go to the council. Any councilors? Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to everybody that presented. Thank you to the landowners that presented. To me, it's a shame that the property would be bought with one current zone with the hope of maybe doing something different. However, given what we know as a town, that we don't have enough residential property, we have a gigantic need for more housing. We keep hearing that over and over and over again in every meeting. We see 60 to 80 couples at any given open house in Franklin for anything under $1 million. You just have to go out to any of them and attend. I'm at them a lot, right? So there are a lot of people that want a home in Franklin. So to me, I think you have yourself a gem here, gentlemen. You have yourself a beautiful piece of property in a residential area. Put some houses on it. And I think everybody's happy. I'm very glad that the planning board took our suggestion and re-met and talked this through. I understand economic development would like to see something done with this property. I think economic development happens also through housing. And I am very much glad that they voted unanimously to reject this. I think it would be irresponsible of us not to listen to them and not to listen to the abutters. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, thanks. There are a lot of things I care. I'm very passionate about on today's agenda. I won't put this at the top of the list, but I wanted to talk through my my thinking as it comes to this. To start, things I don't care about, respectfully, whether Mr. Evans makes money and how much. Also, I'm not particularly moved about what feels like a pretty dangerous precedent ever of promising that whatever is must always be. Things that I do care about are zoning our uses in a way that allows us to continue to provide high quality services and ensure high quality livability in Franklin. Now, you know that if you've heard me speak anywhere, that the places that excite me most for business are downtown and in small neighborhood villages where they can have co-location and co-benefits by being located near other things and within walking distance from people. But I'm not blind to the fact that there's also high value in putting businesses that are highway facing, where you don't have to cross through any residential to touch these businesses. That's high value with low impact on town and brings revenue that allows us to continue to ensure we provide high quality services to everyone. That's why I'm in favor. Again, not like this is going to save Franklin in favor, but you know, from a long distance, with again no care for Mr. Evans' wallet, respectfully. This to me makes sense as a place that could have business in Franklin. I really appreciate what has been maybe the most respectful list of abutters we've ever had on particular projects. I think that they've been quite well reasoned and passionate and patient, and even went for a walk with an abutter down the area and got to take it in and get some sense of why, you know, okay, should there be some buffer space before we get into the residential. But I really never ended up moving from where does business make sense to be in Franklin? Again, downtown, neighborhood villages, and a little bit that's facing the highway. That's why I'm in favor of the proposal.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor DeLorco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Mr. Chairman. I too, I mean, I could care less how much Joe makes, but, I mean, that's business, but living on that, down by that area, which I do live down by that area, the traffic is horrendous, and I don't know how you're gonna come out of that project. Coming out of that project is gonna be very, very dangerous. And we gotta think of that too. Over the money, we gotta think of the danger that these people coming out. I don't know how they're gonna come out, because the traffic's it's past Forest Street most of the time. It's way past Forest Street. In the south side of Franklin, they don't go, it's mostly Rhode Island people coming up through there. And second of all, they'll go down Washington Street to Union Street before they go up King Street because the traffic is so bad. And I talked to the Nasudis. They love living where they are. Him and his wife both, they love living there. I stopped there. So, I just don't think it's a good place for it. There's, like you said, we got a warehouse going up there. I don't know how the traffic's gonna be after that. It's gonna be crazy down there. But that's already through, so the only thing we can do is do something about this. And I'm sorry, Joe, I'm sorry, I just can't see that's, housing would be much better there in my eyes.
All set?
Yeah, I'm set.
Thank you, Councilor DeLorco. Any other councilors? Councilor Pellegrini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm open to listening to both sides, and I always do a pros and cons list as I'm listening to each of them. And I have to tell you, I have nothing on the pros side as far as for you to do a gas station or whatever you've got planned. I think that it's time that we start listening to our residents a little more closely. These are people that have spent a lot of money for the houses down in that area. They chose to live here in Franklin, and I think that we have to back them. You know, had they wanted to buy a house, if this was commercial and all of this was going on, one of them said, of course they wouldn't have wanted to. Why should we jump in now and make any changes to their perspective as to why they moved to Franklin and moved to this area? So, I mean, with all of this, and something I didn't like that was said was you would come off of 495 and take a left and bring business your way. Well, you know what? What about the people on the right? The stores down there, this gas station that's there.
the cafe that's there, the restaurants that's there. It showed me that you really didn't care about them. You only cared about, you know, what was gonna be happening to the left of once you got off of 495 to the left. I think that it's not the best thing to do, and I would suggest, which I can only suggest, is to build a house there. I mean, as Ted said, we need houses in Franklin, and I think the residents there would be very happy to have something like that. So for all those reasons, it isn't something that I can support. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Plagree. Any other councilors?
Just a point of clarification, Mr.
Sure, Councilor Jones.
Mr. Chairman, through you to Mr. Evans, you said earlier in your earlier statement that this was 1.4 something acres?
Council Jones, 1.3, I believe it is, total.
All right, because you said 1.4.
Okay, if I did, that was a mistake, but it is
Okay.
roughly 1.3.
Okay, because as I look at my sheet, that's what it says, 1.32 plus or minus. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Clerical point of view.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Any other councilors?
In the math.
Yep. Seeing none, I will declare the public hearing on zoning bylaw amendment 24-905 zoning map changes for single-family residential 3 to business and area on or near King Street, closed. Okay, we'll go right to legislation for action. 9B, zoning bylaw amendment 24-905, zoning map changes from single-family residential 3 to business and area on or near King Street. This is a first reading, and clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is a first reading. Town of Franklin zoning bylaw amendment 24-905. Zoning map changes from single-family residential 3 to business and area on or near King Street. A zoning bylaw amendment to the code of the town of Franklin at chapter 185, section 5, zoning map. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council that the code of the town of Franklin is hereby amended by making the following amendments to subsection 185-5 zoning map. That the zoning map of the town of Franklin be amended by changing from single-family residential 3 to business, an area containing 1.32 plus or minus acres, comprising the following parcels of land as shown in the town of Franklin's assessor's map. Parcels number 313-061-000 and 313-062-000. The areas to be rezoned is shown on the attached map called the proposed zoning map changes in the area on or near King Street. The foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5.
Move zoning bylaw amendment 24-905 to a second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Jamie?
All set, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing no further discussion, the vote will come on the motion to move zoning bylaw amendment 24-905 to a second reading. Simple majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Could the ayes raise their hands, please? 2, 4, 5. Motion carries. We'll move now to license transactions. Farmer Winery, Farmers Market license, La Cantina Winery. Yeah. You want to give a second? Okay.
Yeah, give it a second.
Yeah, let him clean up. Yeah, I'm ready. Sure, I'll clear that up, Rick. The second reading, that will come back to us on June,
Maybe June 26th. I think it would be June 26th. I just got to look at the legal ad recommendation. It'll be over the next 2 months.
but it will be publicized and it'll be
Publicized.
noticed.
Sorry, guy.
And
Sorry.
okay, we're at license transactions, farmer winery, farmer's market license, La Cantina Winery. Clerk will read the license transaction.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is license transaction for Farmer Winery Farmers Market License, Robert Vizella, La Cantina Winery, 230 Cottage Street, Franklin, Mass. 02038. This is a request for a Farmer Winery Farmers Market License to allow sale of bottled wine at the Franklin Farmers Market pursuant to Chapter 138, subsection 15F. This is a motion to approve the issuance of a Farmer Winery Farmers Market License to Mr. Robert Vizella of La Cantina Winery Company.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Just go down to the La Cantina and check it out.
Farmer's market.
Pretty self-explanatory. This is Bob's application for the farmer's market. The only
This is an annual thing.
Yeah,
that we-
well, it's a biennial now because the winter's farmer's market, which is great. The only bad part of this is that poor Bob has to come back twice a year for this license. If Jeff Roy is listening, maybe we can figure out a way where folks like this who come in every year, twice a year, don't have to come in twice a year to pay the fees and deal with all this stuff. But otherwise, we know Bob well, and this is for the farmer's market, and I know it's been a great boon to his business. So thank you, Bob.
See ya.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Yes, yes.
Questions or comments from the council? Okay. The vote will come on the motion to approve the license transaction for Farmer Winery Farmers Market License for La Cantina Winery. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Second one is another license transaction, Farmer Winery Farmers Market License, Bliss Point LLC, doing business as Bliss Point Meadery. Clerk will read the license transaction.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a license transaction for Farmer Winery Farmers Market License for Jeff Venuti, Bliss Point LLC, doing business as Bliss Point Meadery, located at 1 Fox Run Road, Bedford, Massachusetts, 01730. That's the business location. This is a request, Farmer Winery Farmers Market License to allow samples and sale of bottled wine at the Franklin Farmers Market pursuant to Chapter 138, subsection 15F. This is a motion to approve the issuance of a Farmer Winery Farmers Market License to Mr. Jeff Venuti of Bliss Point LLC, doing business as Bliss Point Meadery.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Second, ditto from the first one. This is another winery for the farmer's market, and they need a special license for the permit.
Is this one that's come before us before, or is this the first?
I don't
This is
think
the
so.
first time?
First
That's what I
They're from,
thought.
I believe, Bedford.
Do we have?
In Bedford? Is
Jeff.
somebody here?
Jeff is on the call.
Tony.
Jeff. Oh, Tony, excuse me. Tony Venuti?
Tony, are you out there? You see him, Amy?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's, on there.
I'd just like him to introduce himself, that's all.
Give us a menu. There we
Yeah.
go.
There we go.
Yes, hello.
Hi, Tony. If you could just introduce yourself, give us a little background of your company.
Yes, I'm Tony Venuti. Actually, I live in Pelham, New Hampshire. I am the mead maker. Jeff Venuti is my son, and it's a home-based meadery, and pretty much all of the business that we do these days is either online sales, but mostly it's farmers markets.
Okay. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Jones?
I'm just assuming metering is beer, right?
No.
What is-
Attorney,
It's actually mead.
excuse me, Attorney Sorrell.
Still honey, as I understand it. It's made from, the base is honey, it's a wine type, it's treated legally as wine.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Right. Wow.
It's not something
Not that I would
I've
drink,
had. But I'm curious, that's why I asked. So I might have to stop by the farmer's market to check it out. So,
That would be a good idea.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve a farmer winery farmer's market license to Bliss Point LLC, doing business as Bliss Point Meadery, now that we know what meadery is. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on, license modification, change of hours. L. Truax King Street Cafe Incorporated, doing business as King Street Cafe, located at 390 King Street, Franklin. Clerk will read the license modification.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a license transaction change of hours for La Truax King Street Cafe, doing business as King Street Cafe, located at 390 King Street, Franklin, Massachusetts, 02038. L. Truax King Street Cafe, doing business as King Street Cafe, is seeking approval for a change of hours at their subsection 12 restaurant all alcoholic beverages license to change the closing time to 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week from Sunday to Monday. All departments have signed up on this application. This is a motion to approve the request by L. Truax King Street Cafe, doing business as King Street Cafe, to change the closing time from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week, Sunday through Monday.
second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
I think what Councilor Jones just read was self-explanatory. They're just trying to change their hours on the Sunday to Monday till 10 o'clock.
Okay. Questions from the council?
Just quickly.
Councilor Chandler?
Oh, this is kind of a personal one, through you, Mr. Chairman, to, I'm sorry, I forgot your first name. Lisa. So you're still not gonna do the Red Wing pizzas?
So I would love to, and I'm holding out hope. I have Red Wing pizza pans in my garage waiting.
Yeah, that's,
Because of who my landlord is, I am not allowed to do pizza. Because there is a pizza place next door.
okay, well, okay, I missed the Red Wing pizzas, that's why.
Me too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Any other questions or comments? Again, as is by our town laws, you will be serving food right up until closing hours. Yeah. Okay, seeing no further questions, the vote will come on the motion to approve the license modification change of hours for L. Truax King Street Cafe, doing business as King Street Cafe, located at 390 King Street. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
I'm sure we'll see you soon.
Okay, moving on. We have no presentation and discussions this evening. We'll move right into continuing with legislation for action. Resolution 24-16, Franklin Town Council support for proposed General Law, Chapter 40B, affordable housing project at 444 East Central Street pursuant to DHCD's local initiative program, Friendly 40B. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So that's, I apologize. That's
2416.
Things get kind of out of order over
So unlike our clerk to not
I
be
know.
prepared.
I
haven't seen this in
I
a long
usually have
time.
things right on top. So. It is. No, maybe, you know what, maybe you're right. Maybe I did. My apologies. I'm just looking.
Apology not accepted, Glenn.
I know. It's not like me. Oh, there it is. Sorry. There he is.
You already filed it.
Hey,
I did already filed it away. I know why. Because it's really long. No, I'm just kidding. Town of Franklin Resolution 24-16. Franklin Town Council support for proposed General Law Chapter 40B, affordable housing project located at 444 East Central Street, pursuant to DHCD's local initiative program, LIP Friendly 40B, whereas General Law Chapter 40B, Section 20-23, provide a legal framework for the creation of local affordable housing, which is administered by the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development, the DHCD, and the DHCD has enacted a regulation creating a local initiative program, or LIP, which allows Chapter 40B developer to work collaboratively with the municipality to obtain its support for proposed affordable housing projects. And whereas DHCD's LIP regulation provides that the municipality demonstrate its support through its chief executive officer signing a letter of support, and the Franklin Home Rule Charter provides that municipality's chief executive officer is the town administrator. And whereas the Franklin Town Administrator has created a voluntary process and a checklist for a developer who proposes a Chapter 40B LIP, affordable housing project to follow, which includes informal reviews by town staff, by the Planning Board, and the Conservation Commission, and presents to the Franklin Town Council. And whereas Elevizos Group has proposed to develop a Chapter 40B affordable housing project on approximately 15 acres of land located at 444 East Central Street, consisting of up to 265 rental units, and whereas Elviso Group has submitted an application to town pursuant to the above described voluntary LIP approval process, and participated in above referenced reviews, and made a presentation to the Franklin Town Council at a duly posted public meeting thereof. Now, therefore, the Franklin Town Council, acting on behalf of the town of Franklin, hereby expresses its support to Elvisos Group's proposed affordable rental housing project of up to 265 units to be developed on approximately 15 acres located at 444 East Central Street, and directs the town administrator to prepare and sign a letter to support the DHCD for the proposed project and to sign a DHCD application and to other forms and to take any other actions which the DHCD requires to demonstrate town support for the project. This resolution to become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-16.
Second.
motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chairman, through you to the council. So, as everybody was aware, this issue came up a couple months ago. And obviously, there were a lot of residential abutter concerns in that neighborhood. The council agreed that night to at least have a neighborhood meeting. There was a little bit of discussion about whether the developer had reached out and had met with them, and there was some miscommunication on that. So we did hold a neighborhood meeting. It was very well attended with all of our town staff on May 20th for a solid 2 hours. All the folks are here tonight too, conservation agent, planner, building commissioner, our town engineer, and other staff are here to answer any questions that folks may have. Attorney Cannon and their clients are going to go through, I believe, a couple slides really quick just to summarize that meeting. I think I'm not up here to suggest that every condition or every issue was certainly met, but I think there was at least a couple of issues that did make residents feel a little bit more comfortable. Most notably, I think you got some emails over this. Most notably, I think it was a great educational moment for what the process is, when the traffic studies get done, and some of those questions, and a lot of those questions I think got answered from that neighborhood meeting, which was, a good positive. So, with your indulgence, I think the clients want to go through a couple slides real quick just to update the community on where they're at with some of the mitigation and some of the other concessions I think they've made based off the public feedback. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Jamie. Just introduce the team again
Sure.
so that,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Edward Cannon on behalf of Tag Central LLC, the applicant. AJ Alavisos and Peter Alavisos from Tag Central. If I may, Mr. Chairman, just a couple of items on the resolution, maybe some hand changes. The applicant is actually Tag Central LLC and not the Alavisos Group. And the total number of units proposed is 264. And those were changes, 265.
Okay?
Is that one, rather than 265?
Right, correct. Yeah. And
Okay.
subsequent to
Yep.
the, is that
Continue.
okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we had great feedback, as you all know, at the first hearing. Listened carefully there. Had a very helpful meeting with residents at Redgate. I'd like to just commend the staff from the town that were there, who were extremely generous with their time and helpful. And also like to compliment the residents that participated. They were extremely thoughtful, respectful, courteous, and it was very helpful to get a lot of that feedback. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like AJ, through you, to just take the board through some of the mitigation measures, some of the concessions that have sort of developed throughout this entire collaborative process. Thank you.
AJ.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and councilors. Just to back up a little bit, just since the last town meeting and the neighborhood meeting, we put together a response memo, which we submitted to you guys in response to the comments we heard from the meeting as well as the neighborhood meeting. We also prepared a rendering, although it wasn't specifically requested, just to proactively provide an idea of what the project's going to look like when it's completed and the level of quality that'll be featured in it. We also met and spoke with many local small business owners in the area to get their feedback on the project, and the vast majority of them expressed their support for the project. And in contrast to other developers who've gone through the same process, we have truly done our utmost to understand the town's concerns and residents' concerns at this very early stage in the process and try to proactively propose some things to mitigate some of those concerns. And we've made efforts out of good faith thus far to show that we'll continue this collaborative approach as we progress through the rest of the permitting process with the ZBA and Conservation Commission. So the project features numerous inherent benefits to the town, which we presented in detail at the previous meeting, so I won't go into those. But in addition to those, we have already proposed many mitigation measures, as well as concessions and compromises beyond what's typically included in the scope of a project at this early stage prior to beginning any formal permitting process. And to get into some of those, so we're proposing to build 175 linear feet of new sidewalk and bike shoulder along East Central Street to connect the site as well as the residential uses to the east with the retail uses to the west. We've also made multiple site plan revisions that were responsive to the planning board comments. Some of these included reducing building height, increasing setbacks, and increasing buffer and shielding for the abutters next door to us to the east. We also redesigned the site plan to incorporate multiple access and life safety related changes that are above and beyond code requirements at the request of the fire department. In addition, we've agreed to convey land to the town to utilize at their discretion, whether it be conservation land or to expand the nearby town forest. Which we went into detail about in our response memo with the concept plan. We also agree to incorporate a fence between easterly abutters based on a request during the neighborhood meeting. The location of that fence approximately is shown by that red line indicated on the graphic on the bottom right side of that slide. We also are willing to assist in the potential expansion of the town forest walking trail network and convey land to the town to expand the town forest area, which was a comment that the councilors had. Also, we're willing to connect the project's nature walking paths with the town's expanded trail network to improve pedestrian connectivity for the project. Also, enabling and assisting the town in applying for state grants, which are afforded by the proposed affordable housing component within the development.
Some of these state grants are typically in the order of $2 million, which can be used for larger infrastructure improvements such as reconstructing the Route 140, Chestnut Street, King Street intersection, and improving pedestrian and bicycle access along Route 140. Lastly, assist the town with local preference process, whereby the residents of Franklin will have priority for up to 70% of the project's affordable units. We've also agreed to replicate isolated vegetated wetlands at a 2-to-1 ratio, so effectively doubling the amount of on-site wetlands on the property. The state doesn't require any replication whatsoever, so it's very typical for developers, especially in a 40B project, to seek waiver or relief from this replication requirement, but we're offering to do a replication at the full 2-to-1 ratio. We've also agreed to the conservation agent's request to perform and adhere to a restoration plan, which isn't typically required and consists of additional actions to further improve the ecological conditions of the site. We've offered to replace invasive vegetation with new native plantings in the entire riverfront area. Also offered to perform traffic signal timing improvements along East Central Street, and prepare a conceptual design report at the cost of the applicant to advance improvements at the Route 140 Chestnut Street, King Street intersection. And lastly, we've offered to assist the town in reestablishing the GATRA bus service along East Central. And here's just a larger blow-up of the rendering that we produced. And obviously, the project's in the very early stages. We haven't prepared fully engineered plans or studies yet. So this proposed mitigation list / concession / compromises is in its very early form, and we're anticipating expanding this list and agreeing to measures above and beyond this list as we uncover more comments and concerns during the public hearing process to follow. And based on everything we've learned throughout this initial process and the unanimous support we obtained from the Conservation Commission and Planning Board, we are confident in our ability to create a project that will overall be very positive for the town by the end of the extensive permitting process to follow, where all the concerns of the project will be properly vetted and peer reviewed. And we truly appreciate your consideration on this matter, and we hope the council agrees to support this exciting project moving forward to the next step. Thank you very much to all the residents who've been involved in this initial process as well. We appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, AJ. Okay, questions from the council? Councilor Sheridan. It's not a public hearing.
Oh, okay.
We already had the public hearing. Okay. So, Councilor Sheridan.
You pretty much answered my questions. I just want to thank you for listening to the public and listening to the meeting and making a lot of changes.
Thank you.
Councilor DeLorco.
Okay, so we haven't done a traffic study yet?
No, we have not.
No, not yet? Well, I can give you a little bit of one. Okay, 'cause last week, my first delivery stop at 3 o'clock in the afternoon was at Grove Street. We parked a truck across the street from Franklin Country Club in the back over there. How long do you think it took me to get to Grove Street at 3 o'clock over here? Just
Couldn't tell you.
Huh?
Half hour?
33 minutes. So I'm just telling you, that's an awful long time to get through. The next day, I had to go to Prospect Street at 3. So instead of going down 140, I went up Creek Street, through Rentham, down Chestnut Street, and then down Summer Street. It took me 20 minutes to get there. So I have to go through another town to beat the traffic out there. So that's just goes to show. I don't know how you're gonna get more than 264 cars on there. There's more than that on the road down there. And you said you're gonna put bike lanes in there on 140?
Just extending the sidewalk and the bike shoulder that's existing to the east.
Oh,
So just in front of the property there, yes.
Oh, just in front of the property, okay.
Yeah.
I see that. Okay, no, I just can't, I mean, I think housing should go there at some point, but I just think it's too many. Just too many.
Thank you, Councilor DeLorco. Councilor Frondillo.
We got a little while.
Like, oh, we all want to go.
Yeah, thank you. No questions at this time, just a few thoughts. Okay. I think about things that we care about as the community, as we think about growth. When we're looking for growth, we need growth that promotes housing affordability and improves the sustainability of town finances while minimizing negative impacts on traffic and natural resources. So when we think about where should growth go, we'll first start with where should it not go? It shouldn't go in places far from town resources. It shouldn't go in places on valuable natural lands. It shouldn't go in places that necessitate the expansion of town infrastructure liabilities and only leaves expensive homes. I'll remind you that we agreed with this and purchased over the last 3 years 200 acres of valuable land that would have necessitated the build out of over 3 miles of new road and sewer and sidewalk, and only resulted in 120 housing units, all of which would likely have been above our median housing, which I'll remind you is $660,000 in Franklin. So where should it go? Well, it should go close to amenities, both our local businesses and public transit. It should go in places that don't necessitate new infrastructure. It should go in places that lead to more affordable units, because affordable units is not just a matter of more units, but it's a matter of smaller units, and it's a matter of deed-restricted, affordable, permanent units. And it should go in places that bring in more revenue to the town. We have an opportunity to provide homes in a place that have numerous benefits to the community that help us meet our housing affordability struggles and needs, that help improve the sustainability of our town finances while minimizing impact to traffic and natural resources. And we get to do it with a developer that wants to work with us and provide extra. The one that, as you might be able to predict, particularly excites me is the reinstallation of a public transit, which says our high traffic areas are along 140. We're building units along 140. That's also how you access everything that you need: groceries, public transit into Boston, downtown businesses, doctor. All of that exists along our commercial corridor on 140. If we're going to add homes there, let's put them on public transit. That's how we minimize traffic in the long run. And so I'm really particularly excited about that. Yeah, I think this is a strong proposal, and I'm, is it perfect? No. Would I have liked to see it built closer to 140 to improve walkability? Yeah, I would have, although I appreciate you at least looking into it and providing us some reason you couldn't. But I think it's a strong way of meeting a whole bunch of needs that I hear regularly from residents. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, guys. Thank you for your presentation. I just want to bring up a couple things to the council more than questions for you. First of all, everybody, we know that the grocery departments have gotten approved. So our 10% affordability is not really in danger. That was one of their bullet points. Last time I brought up the school kids. Now, they're already talking about the redistricting. Now, just so you guys realize this, every single major apartment complex right now, the way they have the line drawn, is going to go funnel into Remington Jefferson, including this one. So they're just going to be inundated with all of that. And, I mean, that's just something to think about. You know, they're already talking about that, and that's going to cost us some money. And lastly, one of your bullet points was that Stobart was an eyesore. When I drive by there, I don't think of it as an eyesore. I don't know if my fellow councilors do. You know, I mean, obviously it could be cleaned up a little bit, but for the neighbors, I don't think they're seeing eyesore every time they go by it. So these are just 3 points I wanted to bring up and, when we go to vote. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think my opinions on this matter have been pretty clear, but I struggle when the word affordable gets used with projects like this. We've talked about that being a state definition. We know that it's only a percentage of the units at this complex, although the entire complex gets counted into our inventory. I understand that. But we're only talking about 25% will actually be affordable here, and that is just at a state equation that, quite frankly, they're still really expensive apartments. So I love the look of it. I love the feel of it. I love everything that you guys have put into it, the thought of it. I think it's fantastic that you've taken so many people's opinions into consideration, all the department heads, the neighbors, all the extras that you guys want to do. I think all that's fantastic. I just wish we could pick this up and move it someplace else. Because that's just not possible, right? The lot that you're proposing is the issue I have. Not just because the neighbors don't want it, because I do think we have a responsibility to listen to the abutters as the residents who put us here. But I also just am very concerned about the traffic. I'm very concerned about the school issues that Councilor Chandler brought up. And we already have a pretty substantial apartment inventory in town. It's not like we have this, like, long wait list of people in town looking for apartments. There's plenty of apartments. Do we have a statewide issue for housing? Yes. But I think we sort of get caught up in our responsibilities as a town versus our responsibilities to people throughout the state. And I feel for you guys because I know you're doing the right thing by this project as a corporate entity and as a legal entity, and I really appreciate that you've gone through so many lengths to get to this point. I really do. I just can't support it where it is. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Any other councilors? Councilor Plagley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to hear from the residents in the area. I know it's not a public hearing.
That's
It was
right.
for something
We've had-
on the agenda that was not for them to speak to at the beginning under comments. So I would like to hear what they have to say about all these changes.
Okay? Not right now, though.
Okay.
Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess one of the things I wanted to thank all the people that emailed us, and I just wanted to say a couple of words about, not everybody wants different things in life. We have different, not everyone wants to own their own home. Not everyone wants to have kids. There's less kids being born right now. And it's like, what we know is that people need a place to live. I think we need to remember that. We're talking about, revenue in an area that we don't have to add any infrastructure costs to. It's almost $1 million a year could potentially come from this project. I think the Taj, is it Taj? No? Yeah. You've worked really well with the community, and you've listened to us, and I really appreciate that. And what I like is that you really respect our Conservation Commission and our Planning Board and what they've said. You've listened to them. I really appreciate that. The walking trails, that's one of the things that I think is really cool. Restoration of habitat, that's really important to me. And also, as Councilor Frangillo said, the GATRA, to allow for public transportation, reliable, efficient transportation, so people don't have to use their cars all the time, is a great thing. And that's what we should be thinking about in every project that goes forward, right? How do we get people around? I did have a question, though, about the fence that you proposed to help the abutters.
Sure.
Is that have you decided the size and the type and any of that information?
No, or just not at that level of detail yet with the design. We don't even have a formal grading plan done yet, so we wouldn't be able to make a decision like that until later on during the ZBA process.
Okay, all right, thank you. I I want to thank you for meeting with the neighborhood as well, and all the town staff that's here. I think that was really great. That's definitely got to be part of the checklist. Hopefully we make sure that that's really on the checklist. But thank you. I think this is a great project.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, through you to the town administrator, the fire chief and the fire department's opinion on such a large, and specifically what appears to be 4 stories buildings in that neighborhood. What's your opinion on the matter?
I believe AJ's talked to the fire chief, and as he mentioned a little while ago, the proponent is agreeing to standards above what is required under code to address really, really no concerns over the project. We have many other 4-story buildings in town, so it's not about the ladder truck or anything like that, but the proponent may be able to go into more details about what exactly they've conceded to that's above and beyond what what the code requires.
Sure. So we've coordinated every revision of the site plan with the fire chief, Joe DeBarbier. Sorry, I'm not saying his name right. But he has reviewed the site plan, and he has sent an email saying, I have no further comments. Thank you for incorporating my comments.
Okay. Now, I do appreciate the giving of the extra land to the town. I know one of my questions last time was potentially opening up the access trail from the back end of the property onto potentially that area at the back to create kind of a pedestrian way for some of the residents to actually be able to traverse that wooded area over to the Big Y, Starbucks, et cetera, so that they've got an easier, less trafficy area on the street for them to get over to those areas. To me, that would be one of the more desirable ways to go from that location over there rather than walking down East Central Street. I didn't really specifically see anything in your plan.
So in the response memo that we submitted, I think Exhibit B had a concept illustration plan showing how the expansion of the walking trail network in the town forest recreation area might be able to occur and connect to our property, specifically the portion of the property that we're deeding to the town, so that you could construct walking paths on the southerly acreage to be conveyed, connect it to the private walking trails that are proposed on our site plan, and then connect that further south to the walking trail network that exists today with the town recreation area. In that, it ties to a connection that's actually utilized today, a pedestrian connection that you can actually access the Starbucks shopping center from. So we put together, this is a concept plan, I will say, too early to confirm feasibility, for example, but we had a call with the Conservation Commission and Water and Sewer Department and went over this conceptually. There's still a lot of work to be done on it, but we're happy to assist in any way we can with accomplishing this goal.
Excellent. Just one more question, Mr. Chairman. Actually, one question and one more comment. Can I ask Proclamations a question?
Sure.
Proclamations, Goodlander, Conservation Agent, Natural Resource Protection Manager, and this week I live off of Palomino Drive.
Oh, very good.
Around, I know.
Good to have you on Palomino Drive. Hi, Brika, how are you?
Good, how are you?
My question to you, and I think it was mentioned earlier, are you satisfied with what they're proposing as far as mitigating environmental effects or anything that may be met, that this particular type of project? Because I know there's a stream right there, but that, and you and I had mentioned, had spoken that right across the street on East Central, they started
There's
to
a
take down
culvert.
trees and
Yep.
dredge that area over there. Will this meet kind of what you would say is a reasonable expectation?
Sure. So 40B projects, as we all know, can be exempt or are exempt by local bylaw. So what the Conservation Commission looks at, right, and then what I review under is the Wetlands Protection Act. To that point, applicants can offer more
right? So they can offer to adhere to local bylaw, friendly 40B. So when it comes to the Wetlands Protection Act, this site is permittable. This project is permittable. You know, the proponent mentioned the 2-to-1 replication ratio. There's actually a requirement in the Wetlands Protection Act to replicate, but it's at a 1-to-1. Local bylaw is 2-to-1. Wetlands Protection Act does not protect isolated vegetated wetlands, right? So actually the applicant, there's no requirement to replicate at all. They're not touching state resources. They're not touching bordering vegetated wetlands. I won't bore you with the logistics or legalities of resource areas. So I will say that based on other projects that we have seen, we are having more on the table.
Good.
There is one caveat to that. There is a restoration plan that's required to be filed as well, and no other applicant has been asked to do that either. That is required because of the nature of the current site conditions.
Right, because the farm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brika. I
Welcome.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Bricola.
And again, just my last comment, I do appreciate that you had listened to what we had requested of you at the last hearing. I think one of the things that I was particularly bothered by at the last hearing was the fact that you hadn't really reached out to the neighbors in any capacity. That was rather bothersome, pretty much for everyone, I think, on the council. And we are still going to take an opportunity to listen to what the citizens have to say on this matter. But I do at least appreciate the changes that you've made and the efforts that you've made. So.
Thank you. And us not reaching out to the butters, it was honestly a mistake by our part. We kind of assumed that they were being noticed as a part of this process, so we truly just misunderstood how the process went, because this is a brand new process for us. We've never gone through something like this before. Mm-hmm. It's not a state mandated process in other towns, so every town kind of has their own individual process for friendly 40Bs. Mm-hmm. So we just really weren't familiar with it. We tried to make it right by having that neighborhood meeting, so I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
That's good. I appreciate that. I think most people would probably think if I'm moving into a neighborhood and I'm gonna make changes to my house, that I could at least show the courtesy of letting my neighbors know that I'm going to be making these changes.
Sure.
Even if it might not be required, it's just a courtesy.
That was our mistake.
So
appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Any other councilors? Is there anyone in council chambers that has a comment, question? Please come forward, name and address.
Gary Love, 39 Red Gate Lane. I have given this a lot of thought. I am in a butter, but I'm really trying to speak here as a member of the town of Franklin, not as an abutter. I know we had our meeting, and I know it's a lot of work that you've been doing to look at this complex. I don't think the issue that we're concerned with is, are we in favor or not in favor of affordable housing, or it's really the issue is the negative impact of this project on the town of Franklin, particularly the East Central Street area. It's, we've talked a little bit about this tonight, and everybody's hinting around it. We don't think putting 264, I guess, apartments in this area of town is a wise thing to do and is good for Franklin planning. Why would we think that? We just should look at the realities. There's already over a dozen condo and apartment complexes on East Central or adjacent to it. They comprise over 1,000 units approximately right now. It's crazy to think the traffic issue is going to get better. The Taj is still not fully occupied, and there's 2 more construction sites going on. So, and we've been told that there really is no practical solution to the traffic issue on that road. And if one ever comes to be, it's probably going to be 10 years in the making. So now we're asking residents of Franklin, who use this area quite a bit, to put up with
Traffic, and we've all been there, we've all talked about it, it's a reality, the traffic is a nightmare. It can only get worse. And then putting 4 more apartments in there just doesn't make planning sense to me. It's not about affordable housing. There's got to be other options. Options such as maybe affordable townhouses or cut back the units. We've talked about this is a lot of units. So it's not about saying, oh, we don't want more residential or support residential or affordable housing. It's about the impact to the town of this particular project. Even in our, I have to quote it, the Franklin Master Plan Inventory and Assessment, it states that compared to other neighboring municipalities, Franklin's housing stock has fewer single-family dwellings and more multi-family dwellings. It also says we've exceeded our 40B. So should we declare victory? No. No, I don't think so. You know, should we curtail the use of varied housing? I don't think so. We need to continue moving forward. I'm on board with that, but not with this particular project. I think we've put ourselves in a great position as a town to really be considerate of this and to work with this developer if we want, or others, to say, no, we need to scale down. We cannot handle the number of units that are being proposed. It can be residential, but we can't handle the number of units. And affordable housing can come in a lot of shapes. Townhouses maybe, something along that line. They're much more sustainable for our people and our town. I know they cost more. You get deposits to put down, but
Please
much
finish
more
up.
sustainable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please.
Hi, I'm Steve Malloy. I live at Russet Hill Road in the Cooks Farm neighborhood adjoining this project. The gentleman who spoke, covered a lot of the points that I was going to make. It's simply too big. 264 units times how many people per unit. We're going to have another 500-600 neighbors, a couple of hundred yards from our homes. All that traffic on East Central Street on top of what's already there. It's too big. We don't need it. Rework this. Do something else. I understand the need for housing. This is just way too big.
Thank you.
Oh, and I wasn't at the meeting the last time, but did we leave and were all the neighbors happy saying, yeah, let's go? No. Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Question.
Just name and address, and then Sue will go to you.
Oh, sorry about that. Hey, I'm Matt Papagno. I am at 2 Wampanoag Drive, and I'm going to be a business owner here. I'm moving the business here on July 1st. So I did my own traffic study. I drove from Wampanoag Drive to my kid's school yesterday morning, and it took 18 minutes to get to Parmenter. That doesn't sound like a long time, but that's ridiculous. And I know there's a little construction going on Jordan Road, so maybe that added 2 minutes. I do think we need more houses. Cormier Ledger here, Councilman Cormier Ledger mentioned that more than 60 couples attend any open house under $1 million. So a lot of houses could go there. We just don't need 264 units. It's way too many units. And the GATRA bus is not going to solve that problem. Thanks.
Thank you. Sue? Name and address, please.
Sure. Susan Rappa, 40 Redgate Lane. I spoke at length at the last meeting, as well as sent all the councilors a letter, so I'll keep this brief, as a lot of the comments that I was going to speak to have already been addressed. Thank you all for meeting on Redgate Lane a couple weeks ago. We did appreciate it. Our understanding was that the meeting was to discuss the concerns and hear suggestions from the abutters and the neighbors in the area. That's why it was held on Redgate Lane and not held in council chambers or somewhere else. And so at the end of the meeting, I had respectfully asked the developer if he would walk, we met in my front yard, if he could walk 40 feet to my backyard to see how close the project is to my back door, my kitchen back door, and he declined. It was very concerning to me and to residents. That was the whole point of us to be there, for you to see it
not on a screen, but in real life. Like, we live it, not on the screen. So in closing, by adding hundreds of apartments in a highly dense area with a major well-known traffic issue on 140, as we've talked at length about, with no way to improve that roadway, it's concerning to us. It's just not the best location for the project. I agree, it's a wonderful project. If we could pick it up and put it in an area that people can come and go and not have to sit in traffic for 20 minutes to go a half a mile down the road. So that's all I wanted to say, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. There was another person over here. Name and address, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Patrick Gallagher, I'm at 2 Cohasset Way. I'm not an abutter to the project. I'm not going to be directly affected by this in the way that some residents would be. That said, I'm here to support the project because I am an ardent supporter of housing. I think it's critically important for our town and for our region, and I think we have a role in that regionally to promote housing. My wife is part of a mom's group. They hear regularly from people who are trying to get into Franklin and just can't find housing in Franklin. Whether it's homes to buy, condos, apartments, every unit of housing that you add is going to put downward pressure on supply. It's going to make it easier for people to afford to live in a town like Franklin. And we critically need more housing in this region. This project, to me, I do 40B developments, I do real estate. I've worked with many of the consultants on this team. They do really, really good work. I think this looks like a fantastic project from what we've seen. This is how 40B is supposed to work. The problem is when towns go below 10%, and then there is no ability to say, work with us on accommodating these concerns. Once you are below 10%, and whatever the proposal is what it is, and a developer can make changes if they would like to, but there's nothing to stop them from saying, I want to build 500 units, and because you are below 10%, I have the ability to do that. This is how 40B is supposed to work, and again, just want to say I support this project, and I hope you do as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark.
Different mic. Yeah, different side of the room. Mark Minichelli, 31 Longfellow Drive. I want to speak to this project as well as a non-abutter. I happen to be the co-chair of a new organization in town that's called Ben for Franklin. And one of our primary goals is to support affordable housing. So as you might imagine, I personally support this project from the affordable housing perspective. I don't think we should be satisfied when we meet our 10% requirement. I think we should try to achieve well beyond 10%. That's good for the affordability of the town in general. I also share concerns about the traffic situation, and I wonder if there's a way. I noticed that, first of all, and I'd also like to congratulate the developer for making great progress in working with abutters and working with neighbors to understand their concerns and the town's concerns and to do something about it. One of the main concerns we hear about is traffic. And so I would like to see not just a commitment to do a traffic study, but I would like to see traffic improvements made as a part of the requirements for this project to go forward. And I would suggest that to the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I just want to Mark's comment, I just want to remind everybody as the process piece, right? This is extremely early. There's no requirement in state law under a friendly 40B statute that all of this stuff that would normally be done at the planning board or ZBA level is done at the friendly 40B level. And so the traffic study will get done. There will be a third-party peer review that the applicant pays for that is our choice at the ZBA level, that we typically use the same consultant. And so all of that will be there. In that report will be recommendations based off the data. I really do support all of the comments, not only from residents, but also the council and Councilor DeLurco's story about traffic. We all hate it. and I think Massachusetts, Eastern Massachusetts, the fight in Milton over MBTA communities and a lot of communities is about the ratio between infrastructure capacity and housing. And it's really, really difficult right now to do one without the other, because if you increase the supply of housing, there's obviously going to be a stress on infrastructure. But to their points earlier, Mr. Love's point earlier, he's right. Like, we can't just go like Legos outside and just build a road and a network. Not that anyone's expecting us to either. You've been familiar with many projects like Grove Street and others where it takes sometimes 5, 10 plus years to lay the federal, state, local groundwork to be able to do a major infrastructure project like out on East Central Street. And if we wait for the infrastructure to come first, we'll never build any housing and no one will ever live here. And the housing rates that we complain about, which I agree with, that are sky high, yeah, but you know what? They're going to be a lot higher. And no one's ever going to be able to afford to live here. On the flip side, if we build all the housing, these folks are right. You know, and you're all right. There's going to be more cars on the road. Like, there's no doubt about it. And I just want to acknowledge for a moment the incredibly great and productive and civil conversation that everyone's having. This conversation is literally the epicenter of the exact problems we're facing in Massachusetts about infrastructure, public transit, and housing. This is why, in a month or so, we're going to be the average family house will be $1 million in Massachusetts. Right? Yeah, crazy. But nothing's getting built. And even if these folks go out and get this permitted tonight, if this goes forward to the next step tonight, you're still not going to see any apartments available for a few years, at least. And so over those next few years, we're not going to be able to rebuild the whole road. We're not going to have a developer who's committed to trying to help us to fix that. And yet we won't have any more housing for people to live in. I just want to acknowledge that everyone's concerns are so incredibly valid. No one's wrong in any of this debate. But the traffic study and the peer review and the mitigation for this project will go through the ZBA if that project gets to that stature. And I just wanted to follow up on Mark's comment. That's not the point at which this is at in the process. That is for the permitting agencies to do. So thank you very much for the few minutes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, please. Name and address.
Luther White, Russet Hill Road. I agree with all the comments about the traffic and everything else. I think the developer's done a very nice job presenting and communicating. I just want to make an economic argument with the council. We currently are holding a special election because there's a $6 million deficit, $6.8 million. This project will permanently add expense to this town. There's no net positive here. This is a net negative. And I just can't understand why that hasn't been more of the topic. Traffic, 100%, it's a problem. But development is development. But as we look at the apartments are not investments. Housing is investment. Homeowners are investing. Apartments are not. So when we look at the financial situation of this town, and we're asking residents to vote to increase a budget, this project does not help us. It just sets us further back. And it's a permanent problem, and it'll never be a positive. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody that has something that has not been brought up?
I'll be really quick.
Okay, sure, Gene.
And I want to thank you.
Just name and address.
Gene Grella, 36 Redgate Lane. I'm in the butter. And thank you for coming to the neighborhood. Again, thank you for, first of all, I want to thank the town council members for, this is a representative democracy, and for you guys for listening to what we have to say and taking that into consideration. So I want to thank a lot for that. I want to second Councilor Cormier-Ledger's remarks that I thought were spot on. We don't hate affordable housing, but this particular project in this particular place is not the right fit for, you know, what we need in the town. And I think, I'll only say this one last thing, that I think that what we're looking at is where we're putting the wishes of future residents, potential residents, in front of the residents who live here already. And I think, you know, the town council here represents the residents who live here already. And that's who we have to represent right now, not potential future residents. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. Name and address, please.
Hi, Sarah Cronin, 46 Northern Spy Road. I'm technically in a butter, although I live as far as possible from this proposed development. So I'm aware that there's a statewide housing crisis, and I want to caution us to not look at the entire state of Massachusetts and to look just at Franklin. There are plenty of very expensive apartments here, but definitely not enough truly affordable housing rentals. And there's really not enough starter homes. So I want to share very briefly the story of my family. They're sitting back there. We moved to Franklin because it offers high quality living and services, and our youngest son was about to enter the school system. We were outbid on 3 to 4 homes the summer that we were trying to move to Franklin. And luckily enough, a single-family condo in Chestnut Ridge came up for sale right around July. That was a perfect solution for our family. We never wanted a condo, but we wanted a single family. We wanted enough space. We wanted a bit of a yard. We ended up staying at Chestnut Ridge for 7 years, built equity in that condo, and then were able to buy a true single-family home in Cook's Farm. That is a path to homeownership that worked really well for us, and I would like to suggest and urge the council to consider that type of starter home housing as a replacement for the apartment unit that's being proposed. Not against building, very concerned about the traffic. I won't go through everything that's been said before, but I would just offer that as a suggestion that perhaps condos, townhouses, or some kind of starter home community might really help new homeowners move to Franklin and invest in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, name and address.
Renee Lev, 39 Redgate Lane. I spoke at length at the last meeting as well, and I've also sent several letters, including one I hope that found its way to you earlier today. We did, as you all know, we did have the opportunity to meet with the developer on May 20th and with staff, and we were very appreciative of that opportunity. I would have to say, in all honesty, I don't think we resolved anything, but we had a chance to voice some concerns and to really learn a little bit more, to be more educated about the process for this local initiative program process and what it means to get waivers and all of these different things. So we were more aware after that. But we did have a few key takeaways, and that's what I want to share with you. So the Alavisos Group is unfortunately not open to consideration of alternative affordable housing scenarios. So one of the things that we were hoping is kind of what you're just hearing now. Are there other options that we can look at? Can we look at townhouses? Can we look at single-family homes that are deeded as affordable? Can we reduce the numbers? Can we reduce the number of units? Can we move some of the higher units that are directly abutting our properties? Some of those floors, can other floors be built, like 5-story buildings? Not that we want 5-story, but could there be additional buildings? We're kind of throughout that, and the bottom line was that that's not a profitable path for them. So it was this basically or nothing. That was the message that we walked away with. And we've talked at length about traffic, but the main thing that I want to say about that is that I know that one of the comments that you received from the town is that the proponent has signaled a willingness to work with the town on potential investments towards studies to fix the King Street 140 intersection. But we've also heard loud and clear when we were at that meeting that there are no viable solutions. I mean, Jamie just talked to that point again right now, that anything that we are going to be able to do is way down the road, that it's 10 years, it may involve a rotary, there would be a need for eminent domain, which is not anything that anybody wants to do, and it's a very difficult process to get through. And that's, so there isn't anything we can do right now. You can do studies till we're blue in the face, but we are not going to, nothing's going to tell us that the traffic's going to get any better or that there isn't going to be some impact. We all know 400 more cars sitting in that lot, there's going to be more traffic. And it really is a struggle for us right now. I know that we don't represent all of Franklin, but there are a lot, but we do represent a part of Franklin, and there are many neighborhoods
all of the neighbors that live off of Jordan in that area, it's already become a cut-through, and it's going to become more of a cut-through. There is a big impact, and that is our accessibility to the town, and it's important to really consider that as well. The last thing that I want to make a point of is that, and I mentioned in my letter that when the proponent presented to the Conservation Commission, I felt like from what we heard at this meeting that they opened a Pandora's box. When they presented there, they disclosed numerous violations to the wetlands that were taking place there and a plan to try to address those. And we can understand why that would be received positively by the town. But we were really surprised to hear the extent of the violations and the town staff's feedback that the current owner essentially had no vested interest to resolve it.
Thank you.
So I
You
just
need to
want-
finish up.
Okay. So I just wanted to say with that in closing is that while that's important, that shouldn't be one of the major factors that contributes towards your decision. And again, we would really hope that you would look at looking at other alternative scenarios for this program. Thank you.
Thank you. Jackie, last one. Other than one in Zoom.
Jackie Mayseal, Elm Street. I don't live near this project. I live up by the Medway line. And they had a similar development with tons and tons of units. The town of Medway went back and forth with them for 10 years, I think, or more before they developed it. But my question is, what is affordability rental? Okay? You know the Taj Estates? To stay there in their cheapest unit, it's $31,800 a year. That's okay. I don't know if they have affordable rentals. The top end.
Stay-
That's not
What's that?
Jamie,
Just so we're clear, none of the Taj Estates are deeded affordable.
Well, that's good.
Okay?
That's
Well,
good.
Right. Well, right. But this project, 25% of the units are deeded affordable in perpetuity. And I just have to say it because I said it a million times, I'm going to say it again. The only 100% proven method to have affordable housing is to have the deed preserve it as affordable in perpetuity. That is the only method. If you do not have a deed that has that affordability piece to it, like the 25% of these or the 25% at Grove Street, or various other units through 40Bs in the community, it is all subjected to supply and demand economics. So the Taj Estate did not have affordable units. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
okay. Jackie, continue.
Okay, so 25% of those will be affordable. So that means 75% will be unaffordable, correct?
I mean,
Will not,
But how high, I mean, who's gonna be able to pay these rents? I like the idea somebody said about let's build some, if you want to build some affordable rentals, fine, but put in condominiums where people can invest into a home, which at a real entry level is a condominium. Stay there. I mean, that's the way to do it. I can't remember. Yes, congratulations. That's the way to build equity, okay? You don't build equity with a shoebox full of rental slips.
Jackie,
Everybody knows that.
address the council.
Oh, I'm sorry. You don't build... It's the hands. It's the Italian in me. You know, okay?
I get it, Jackie. I have to remind you every now
I
and then.
know it. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Quite all right.
But I was so excited to hear somebody say something logical, okay? A shoebox full of rental slips is a shoebox full of rental slips. And we've all had parents who told us that. And it seems like we have a society that wants to do away with that. You know, you will own nothing and be happy. So, I rest my case.
Thank you, Jackie. Okay, we have one person out in Zoom land. Who is it? I can't.
Sharif Toba.
Am I audible?
Yes.
You hear me?
Sharif.
Okay.
Just
My name is Sharif Tolba. I live at 15 Hayden Lane, so this abuts the project. I'm just right across the brook from it.
I haven't had the opportunity to attend the previous meetings, but I have seen the recording for the last time. So I have similar concerns to what have been already mentioned, so I'm going to try to focus on a few things. One of them is how our family is affected. So my kids go to the charter school, and they go early in the morning, and they come later than their peers in other schools, around 3:45 p.m. So definitely the traffic is a problem because we're going to have to add to this, and they're going to come later. They're going to have less time with their family and less time to spend on their homework. So this is one thing. The other thing is the traffic. This property, I don't know if there was a change to the entrance and the exit, but because I'm on Zoom, I couldn't see the updates to the drawings. But if it's only one entrance and exit point, this is very dangerous. We lived previously in Burlington, and I've seen similar projects in neighboring towns where they have one entry and exit point, and it was very dangerous for the entering traffic and leaving traffic. And especially with this one, we have 264 units. How many cars are going to be there? So it definitely is going to be a problem for them, for the people who live in these apartments, and also for the traffic that's on 140. Another thing is wetlands. I have a concern about wetlands because definitely the foundation will displace water. And this displaced water is going to have to go somewhere. So in our neighborhood at Cook's Farm, at times of the year, we have the groundwater levels becoming very high, and like the land becomes saturated. So if this water is going to go somewhere, it's probably going to go to our backyards. One more thing about the affordability of this project. I know people talked about this, and at least from the rendering that they showed, it doesn't seem to me that these are affordable units. Even like, and 25% is very, like, it's not a good reason to call this project affordable units, in my opinion. Let's see, what do I have else? And developer communication, I know they held a meeting recently. I didn't have a chance to attend that because of work reasons. But I would expect that if a developer is really interested in making sure that the neighbors are in line with what they're trying to achieve, that they would at least try to reach out to me. They did their job, and I really appreciate their effort because they showed flexibility and they came to our neighborhood. But I still have these concerns. So as much as I see that this project can bring benefits to the town, I have these and other concerns related to the carbon emissions from heating, from the cars that are going to be there, how many families are going to be coming to the neighborhood and Franklin because of this project. Of course, we welcome new families, but it's going to add to the traffic that we have here. So I'm going to stop here because of time, but thank you for giving me this opportunity, and thanks to the council.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharif. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, the vote will come. Do we need to amend it to?
Yes.
Yes. To 264, so offer the amendment to,
It's an option, it's more important to get the name correct.
Right.
That was the
Okay.
information I was given.
okay, so let's make an amendment to the motion that's on the floor to change the name and change the number of units.
Okay, can you give me the spelling, or at least
It's tagged TAG.
TAG.
just TAG,
Central LLC.
tag,
And
central.
And
Would be
to,
helpful to make a motion.
yeah, we have to make an amendment to the motion because the motion's on the floor.
Give me a second, I'm gonna
I'm
update.
not talking to you.
Tag central LLC. And that's 264 units.
Correct.
Okay.
Colby, you want to make the amended motion, please?
Motion to amend the legislation to replace the Alveus Group with TAG LLC,
Central.
TAG Central
LLC.
LLC, and 265 units with 264 units.
From 265 to 264.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
second,
Motion and second. Discussion on the motion. On the amendment, sorry. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-16. A majority votes required.
As amended.
As amended. And a majority votes required. We've been asked for a roll call. Clerk will call the roll.
Yes, sir. Second. Hamlin,
Yes.
Pellegrini,
No.
Frangillo,
Yes.
where are you? Jenner,
No.
Chair.
Yes.
Patrick. That's a yes. Chandler, no. All right. Jones, yes. Cormier Ledger,
No.
no. And Vice Chair,
No.
no. And Chair.
Yes.
So that is Sheridan, yes.
Yes.
Frangillo, yes. Hamlin, yes. Jones, yes. Chair,
Motion
yes.
passes 5-4. Okay, moving on. Zoning bylaw amendment.
Sorry, guys.
Zoning bylaw amendment 24-906.
Attaboy.
Zoning bylaw amendment 24-906. Changes to subsection 185-3. Definitions, mixed use, development definition, referral to the planning board. Clerk will read the resolution. Oh, I read the bylaw amendment, sorry, I apologize.
No worries. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning bylaw amendment 24-906. These are changes to subsection 185-3, definitions, mixed-use development definition. The zoning bylaw to amend the chapter 185, section 3 of the Code of Town of Franklin. Be enacted by the Franklin Town Council that chapter 185 of the Town of Franklin is hereby amended at section 185-3 definitions by adding the following text. Subsection 185-3 definition, mixed-use development, a development on a single parcel containing either more than one residential use or a combination of non-residential and residential uses. Uses allowed within a mixed-use development for specific zoning districts are detailed in use regulation schedules part 1 through part 7. See attachments 2 through 8. A foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5.
Move zoning bylaw amendment 24-906 to the planning board.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion, Jamie.
So, wanted to take a breath, but we're on to another big one. So, resolutions, the next three are all interrelated. I just want to make sure items D, E, and F all deal with the MBTA communities law. I'm sure many people have been reading things in the newspaper about this. So originally, this bylaw proposal went to the EDC with one last bylaw change in order for the town of Franklin to fully comply with the law. It relates to downtown commercial zoning only. So the magenta color there, that's downtown commercial, what we're talking about is only relating to that. The proposal from the staff, people got to follow me on this one. The proposal from the staff, and Brian has done a tremendous amount of work to make sure that the zoning that we have in place complies through the state compliance model. The only change that needed to happen was to eliminate the requirement for on-site parking for commercial industrial only. Right now, the bylaw has 500 square for every 500 square feet of commercial industrial space, you're required on-site to have a parking spot, okay? The tension that people see in the newspaper about MBTA communities revolves all around density of housing, right? We've been talking about this tonight. But to comply with the law, we did not need to increase density downtown or do any other tweaks to our code because the bylaws that we already have were in compliance. Brian's been working with the state for several months, and we developed this one bylaw change that was required in order to comply with the law. So we didn't have to build more housing, we didn't have to look at more apartments, we didn't have to do all these other stuff that we've been hearing feedback on. It was that one change, which also was a benefit to the town. Why? Because all of you voted a couple years ago or a year ago to put in open parking lots on Depot Street, Ferrara's lot, and so therefore the parking that you would need for commercial industrial would maximize the potential of those lots. I know everybody drives down there a lot, they see a lot of empty spaces. The EDC was fully in favor of that change. Made one minor amendment at the EDC, which was to also take the requirement in that zoning district only from 1.5 spaces on residential lots and bring it to 0. So in essence, on that zoning district only, on downtown commercial, right now the bylaw currently requires for on-site residential parking 1.5 spaces per unit. We've had many discussions among the staff, the EDC, I'm sure the master plan is discussing it too. I think many people have always said, at a minimum, let's get rid of the 1.5 per unit. It doesn't seem to make sense. Again, we have lots that are now open, maybe 1 unit. There's definitely a discussion to be had. Many members of the EDC and the council, many other people, in Massachusetts and Franklin and other places, believe that no mandatory minimum parking spaces is an idea worth doing. This is a public debate, and so the EDC amended the bylaw by a vote of 3-1 to take the mandatory parking requirement for residential down from 1.5 to 0. From my perspective, the most important thing the council needs to do is at least make sure that whatever we need to do complies with MBTA communities, because this is going to go from here. The planning board is going to have a hearing in July, then it's going to come back to the council in August and September, and we have to comply with the law by the end of the year. There is also a lawsuit that was brought forth by the Attorney General against the town of Milton, and those amicus briefs are due in the Supreme Court, Judicial Court of Massachusetts by September. I'm just begging all of you, we don't want to be on that list. Okay? Serious stuff. So when we talk about improvements on MassWorks and we talk about other stuff out on 140, if we do not comply, we do not get any more state aid. I think it's very, very important that whatever the council believes now, and normally I'm the one who sits up here and says, send it to the planning board, right? Just send it off to the planning board. The council does have to make a decision about whether or not you want 0 parking on site for residential units, or whether you want 1 per unit, or whether you want to stay at 1.5. Whatever decision that is, you're going to send it to the planning board and they're going to have a hearing. But if the planning board acts and reacts in a way that's going to bring out a bigger and broader public debate, I have a little bit of concern that this could stretch out long enough where we might be out of compliance when that court case gets heard in October, and I really, really, really don't believe, nor do I believe anyone on this council or the planning board in the community wants to be on a list that goes before the Supreme Court that says Franklin is not in compliance. My goal and the staff's goal, and I do believe the EDC's goal unquestionably, is to get to compliance on MBTA communities. The way at a minimum you do that is by just eliminating the commercial industrial responsibility. Mr. Chairman, I did as good as I could in 3 or 4 minutes to try to summarize that.
Yeah.
And so if you have any answers and questions, feel free. Brian's here as well to answer anything.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions, comments from the council? Councilor DeLorco.
So Milton isn't the only town, right? Winthrop just voted it down too, if I'm not mistaken.
So out of every 5 towns, 4 towns are approving it. The Boston
Okay.
Globe is only reporting on the towns that are not complying with it, okay?
Okay.
The consequences for not complying are absolutely hugely penalizing to the town of Franklin. There is no reason
No, I'm not saying
But-
that.
but I'm just saying, like,
Everybody's throwing Milton out there.
Well, Milton
And
was the
I know
fir-
there's other
well,
towns.
because Milton was the first to reject the
Yeah.
zoning, but they approved it at town meeting, but got rejected at a ballot when people went back. Okay? I'm trying to avoid all of this.
No, I
altogether.
agree.
So,
I'm not disagreeing.
yeah, so,
They're the only ones who have missed the deadline too. The other ones are saying that they're not gonna meet it, but they
Okay.
technically
Right.
haven't hit the deadline.
but the Globe isn't also reporting that every week, several other communities in Massachusetts are approving their bylaws. They are. And it's not resulting in significant changes, kind of like this one before Franklin. This isn't the biggest change in the world. It's not like we're building 10-story buildings here. But for other communities, the infrastructure issues that have been out there are certainly concerns for really small towns that have no infrastructure and are being brought into this in strange ways. So, Milton's not the only community that's declined
Oh, that's all I wanted to know,
the-
that's all.
the law, yeah.
Thanks.
That is true.
Councilor Chandler,
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure who's going to answer this one.
we'll find somebody.
Okay, I was the one that voted against one of these, not all of them, but you want us, which one do we need to vote on for the commercial? What number is that?
Brian, technically, I believe it's all three. But one of the bylaws, only one of those three bylaws has the residential and parking factor in it.
Right.
Okay, because my concern was
Is that-
the residential part.
But they're all interconnected, all three. You can't do two and not one other one. You know what I mean? Like, they're all interconnected. Maybe, Brian, do you want to?
Yeah, I can address that. I think
Okay.
the way we originally developed the three bylaws, they all work together,
Yeah.
okay? When the Economic Development Committee voted to eliminate the residential parking requirements also, that ended up being a situation where zoning bylaw amendment 24907, which was the one that they changed, that they voted to change. That one, therefore, is the one that is the most important for the MBTA community. The other two relate to so-called mixed-use development. And by writing up the amendment 24907 the way we originally had, we were relating everything to mixed-use development. So we therefore added a definition for mixed-use development and added mixed use into our use tables at the end of the document in attachment 7. So those were all related. You could, if you're not going to have any parking requirements in the downtown commercial, residential or non-residential, you could eliminate the other two bylaws totally, but I don't recommend that because I think mixed use is a use that we've been wanting to add in for a while now, and it is one of the MAPC study recommendations from a couple years ago.
So it's
So,
907.
I know it's kind of walked around that, but the one that was changed is, it is changes to section 18521 parking, loading, and driveway requirements. That one there is the big one that you need to amend to take care of your MBTA communities issue right now.
Okay.
So, if you are going to add in residential parking requirements,
Yeah,
then you would want to make sure all three of those went to grow as a package, but I recommend they go together anyway at this point.
I'm still lost.
yeah,
So I'm voting no.
Are we all lost?
yeah. I think there's a feeling amongst the council, there's a concern about the, from what I've heard, which of the 0 for residential. So if we wanted to adjust that, I'm just saying, if there was a want of the council to adjust that, do we have to vote that one first?
No.
That's item E, I think, Brian, right? On the agenda?
Clerk?
No,
It's
Yeah,
zoning
907, 24,907.
907.
907.
Okay, so we can vote 24,906.
Yeah.
like it is.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Like it right now.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not going to do, in
Okay.
either, whatever you do in 907, the other two are fine.
Okay,
No, that's,
that was what we were looking
that's
for.
exactly what I needed to know.
Yeah,
Exactly. Councilor Hamblin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to add, to hopefully clarify, that the definitions of mixed use don't exist.
Right.
And one of the recommendations for the Franklin for All project was to make it easier, and the master plan, is to create a definition of the things that we actually think about as mixed use. Because it wasn't even in the bylaws. So that's just to make it easier for people to understand things. And Brian worked really hard to put them all together into this one pack.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is just to kind of echo what Councilor Hammond just said. You know, definitions are important. And it might not be a perfect definition, it might get revised in the future. We might have further discussions on it based on what we come out of with the master plan. But it's a definition, it's something to work off of. Because she's not wrong when she said, whether we're talking about economic development or we're talking about the master plan, the word mixed-use development comes up a lot. But there's really no clear understanding as to what the hell does that mean.
Okay.
So now at least we've got something.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Is there any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to refer zoning bylaw amendment 24-906 to the planning board, and a majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Zoning bylaw amendment 24-907, changes to subsection 185-21, parking, loading, and driveway requirements, elimination of minimum parking requirements in downtown commercial zoning district, referral to the planning board. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning bylaw amendment 24-907. Changes to subsection 185-21, parking, loading, and driveway requirements. The zoning bylaw to amend chapter 185, section 21 of the Code of Town of Franklin, be enacted by the Franklin Town Council that chapter 185 of the Code of Town of Franklin is hereby amended by the following deletions and/or additions to subsection 185-21, parking, loading, and driving requirements. Subsection B, parking schedule. The number of parking spaces required for particular use shall be following. What's been removed is B1A and B, and replaced with 1 that states that the downtown commercial zoning district is exempt from this section, and subsection 180, and that's subsection 185-21B. That's what's been added. What's been removed is B1 in the downtown commercial zoning district, B1A, residential dwelling units, 1.5 parking spaces per residential unit in a mixed-use development, and B1B, non-residential uses, 1 space per 500 square feet of gross area. Those are the changes. The foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5.
Move zoning bylaw amendment 24-907 to the planning board.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
just so I have it right, this is the one that we have, there's
This
no.
is the one.
Thank you, okay, I'm on board, thank you.
This is the one.
Councilor Jones?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to amend, please,
Sure.
to B, under parking schedule, where it says, under number of parking spaces required for a particular use shall be the following. I'd like to change what's been deleted from in the downtown commercial zoning district for residential dwelling units, which was originally 1.5 parking spaces per residential unit in the mixed-use development, to, instead of deleting it, make it 1 parking space per residential unit in the development area.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Yes, Mr. Sorrell?
I think if you do that, if you leave anything in there
You also have to delete that proposed language. Brian, you want to confirm that? Am I correct?
Correct, you
Yep.
would
The paragraph that.
amend
Yep.
as you just proposed and delete the
delete
the proposed.
Yep, that's fine.
Yep.
As part of my amendment, Mr. Chairman, I would like to remove what has been added under B1, the downtown parking zone district is exempt from this section, subsection 18521B, to have that stricken from the zoning bylaw amendment.
Second.
Motion and second. Okay, discussion. Councilor Cormier.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize, I'm just a little bit confused. If we accept the amended changes, does that then mean that we're out of compliance for what James is
No,
asking?
no,
Okay.
no.
So
We
with,
still would be in
so-
compliance.
So with Councilor Jones' tweaks to the language, we would still be okay with the state?
That's correct.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wanted that clarified, thank you.
Thank you. Any other, Councilor Frangillo?
Okay. If there are 5 policies that I think could dramatically improve Franklin, this would be one of them. So I just wanted to make my case for the removal of parking minimums, starting with where I think we should start, which is, what is the case for parking minimums? I've put this to the planning department, and really anyone who'd ask, where is the, give me one location where the inclusion of parking minimums has led to a better downtown, or one location where the removal of parking minimums has led to a worse downtown. Got no examples. And you know this. Well, one example was brought forward. A colleague said, well, they really like going to Ann Arbor, Michigan, because it has lots of parking. Well, the people of Ann Arbor disagree. They voted to remove their parking minimums a few years ago and haven't looked back. Parking mandates, if you don't know, were created and pushed by the car industry by selling to the American people that the way to prosperity was convenient access to everything with your car. We know that that is not true. There are so communities around the country adopted these parking minimums. They were told this is the way to prosperity. They adopted all these parking minimums. And now you know that the places that you like to go, if you really think about them, are the ones who chose not to make that change, wherever you think it is. I bring up Newburyport, Salem, Provincetown, Concord, Lexington, right? These are places who have retained their downtown housing stock. We recently went to Hudson. Hudson's a very, very similar community to Franklin. They just happen to have a little bit more of a vibrant downtown as of late. We asked them a whole bunch of reasons why. We asked them, well, how do you feel about parking minimums? And the planning department said, no parking minimums as a key to revitalizing their downtown. So I get that it's easy to hide behind the status quo. It's because things are the way that they are, then it's scary to change that. But we all know we don't even have to look anywhere else. When was Franklin downtown at its most thriving? When did you walk down and go into store by store by store? It was prior to the inclusion of parking minimums. It was very much prior to the expansion of parking minimums. Parking minimums are the single biggest handcuff we have on downtown development at this point. Planners around the country are seeing this. More and more communities are equally realizing that parking minimums were a failed experiment and are taking them down. The American Planning Association put a great article together, a business case for dropping parking minimums, where they looked at communities from big cities all the way down to one with like 1,000 people, a whole bunch of different communities that have done this and been better for it. So I get that it's scary. I get the instinct. I'll remind you that parking minimums are just that. They're minimums. All they do is say, we don't want to risk overestimating the amount of parking that a developer needs to bring in. They still get to add as much parking that they need to sell the unit. If they think they need 3 spaces per residential unit to sell it, they can. If they think they can get away with under 1.5, under 1 per unit per commercial, 500 commercial square feet, then that's only good for us because it means fewer cars downtown. It means more revenue in the form of homes and businesses, and it means a more vibrant downtown because it's, more projects are viable. That's my piece.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor DeLorco.
I'm a little confused, Council Fingello, because where are the cars gonna go? Where are they gonna go?
Yeah.
You gotta park. My father, when I was a kid, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, used to drive to Franklin, back into a town, and walk all over town. That's what he used to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know, where were they gonna park if they have no place to park?
Yeah, it's a great question. Could I respond?
Yeah.
Direct
I mean, I think that's the key
direct him
question.
through the
That's all.
chair.
I'm confused, that's all. I'm just
Okay.
confused.
Go ahead.
I mean, everybody's young. I'm talking about the seniors. They're not gonna be walking around downtown. They just can't. They can't. They gotta go. They gotta get somewhere. You know, cars are here and they're here forever. You think they're not, but they're gonna be. Because the electric and the hybrids, it's a fad. It's not gonna be long.
Okay, you can respond now through the chair again.
Yeah, thank you, through you. I mean, of course it's the key question. I would again ask you to think of communities that are thriving in their downtown, and they all have on-street parking. They have large, easily published parking lots, and people are willing. It's such a vibrant space that they're willing to walk a little bit further to the places that they need. If you look at a map of downtown Franklin and just color in every place, the amount of space that we have currently allocated to parking, it is absurd. It is nearly 50% of the overall square footage of the downtown area. Where do they park? It's places that offer existing parking, and we just way better utilize them through a whole bunch of different strategies. But if you go downtown at any point, you'll see that the parking spaces are empty. At most, maybe you're seeing 10 to 20% occupancy of the current parking spaces. So where do they go? They go to the places where they already are. If a parking problem develops, hallelujah for Franklin. That's a good thing. People can't stop coming to Franklin, can't stop going to our businesses, that it's actually difficult to park downtown, that I would love to be a part of conversation about buying new parcels and expanding parking.
All right, I didn't understand where you were coming from, that's all.
Any other questions on the amendment?
There's one.
I have,
Brian?
okay. The amendment that you're at this moment is not quite good enough for, and the reason is that if you look at the document where we crossed out 1B,
Right,
which is non-residential uses,
right.
we really need to have, if you're going to have residential units in there, then you need to you need to amend it to the way that B should state non-residential uses are exempt from this section 18521B. Because the non-residential use requirement is what the MBTA
Right.
requires,
Right.
what communities want, all right?
Yeah.
By making the amendment previously, the Economic Development Committee changed it. You didn't need that wording because it was all inclusive in the one here. But you have to separate those out. If you're still going to have residential, whatever the number, if you're going to have residential parking requirements, you need to have the second line in there.
Could you just cite it again, Brian, so Glenn can write it down?
Yeah, so the B
Yep.
should read, non-residential uses are exempt from this section, 18521B.
185.
dash
Right.
21B,
185,
or
21,
21,
21B?
21,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 21,
21. Correct.
not B.
Oh, actually, it is B.
Yeah,
Because
so
B
it
is
is
the
B.
parking schedule, yes.
185, 21,
Yeah.
B. So, R, exempt. Well, and I'll add that in if it gets approved.
Clarify the
Yep.
motion, please.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll do just that. So, a revision to my amendment, this is to change zoning bylaw amendment 24-907 at B, parking schedule. The number of parking spaces required for particular use shall be the following. B1, in the downtown commercial zoning district. A, residential dwelling units, 1 parking space per residential unit in a mixed-use development. And B1B, non-residential uses are exempt from 185-21B.
Second.
And, nope, I'm not done. And remove the revised, the downtown commercial zoning district is exempt from section 185-21B.
Second.
Strike.
Does that cover it?
Looks good to me.
Okay,
Mark.
Brian. Does that cover it, Brian? Mark? Okay.
Yeah, it does.
It's kind of, I was worried
That's a
about
good
that.
thing.
I was worried about the non-residential.
Okay. Any further discussion on the amendment? Please, name and address.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Patrick Gallagher, 2 Cohasset Way. I appreciate this, and I will be very quick. I am not as excited about this as Councilor Frangillo, but it's something I've studied quite a lot. I do development work, zoning work, Massachusetts, California, DC, all over the country. The prevailing trend is to replace minimum parking requirements with either none at all or maximum parking requirements. That is because parking is not the highest and best use of real estate anymore. And so I would just say, not a hill that I want to die on, but I think it is something that has merit to consider taking out these parking requirements in this area, given the access to transit and all of the services. Thank you.
Thank you. Jamie?
My only belief is, I'm not getting into the debate. I just think that MBTA communities is the predominant thing. The master plan
that's
committee.
my concern.
The master plan committee can take into consideration all of this research and talk about it on their goals. I think it's a fantastic thing to discuss at the master plan level. If it's that big of a priority, it should be in the master plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, seeing no further discussion, the vote will come on the amendment to the motion, which was just read. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
Section 2, right?
Yes. So the vote will now come on the motion to move zoning bylaw amendment 24-907 as amended, referral to the planning board. A majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Zoning bylaw amendment 24-908, subsection 185, attachment 7, part 6, addition of mixed-use development to use regulation schedule, referral to the planning board. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning, zoning bylaw amendment 24-908. This is zoning bylaw to amend the Franklin Town Code, Chapter 185, Attachment 7, Part 7, use regulation schedule for residential uses. Be enacted by the Franklin Town Council that Chapter 185 of the Code of Town of Franklin is hereby amended by the following additions to subsection 185, Attachment 7, Part 7. Use regulation schedule, residential uses, multifamily or apartment. There is an attached schedule. The changes reflected are under use regulation schedule, part 7, principal uses under residential 6.1C as part of mixed use development as defined in our previous one. There are changes to several areas on this schedule, including Res 1, 2, 3, and 4, no, etc. And then under notes, there are no other changes under that.
I believe that whole line that they add in.
It's all new.
Yeah, that whole new line. Yep. All the way across.
Okay.
Part you want me to read. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hold
Yeah.
on.
Needs
He's
to
not
read-
done yet.
You're not
No.
done.
I have one more
He's
line.
got another sentence.
The foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5.
Move zoning bylaw amendment 24-913 to the planning board.
Second. Is that 908?
908.
908.
Oh, 908, I'm sorry.
Second.
Second. Okay, we have a motion, second discussion.
Let's do it.
Brian.
Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to refer zoning bylaw amendment 24-908 to the planning board. A majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Zoning bylaw amendment 24-913, zoning map changes from business to commercial 1, an area on Union Street near Franklin Crossing, referral to the planning board. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is zoning bylaw amendment 24-913, zoning map changes from business to commercial 1, an area on Union Street near Franklin Crossing. A zoning bylaw amendment to the Code of the Town of Franklin at Chapter 185, Section 5 zoning map. Be enacted by the Franklin Town Council that the Code of the Town of Franklin is hereby amended by making the following amendments to subsection 185.5 zoning map by changing from business to commercial 1, an area containing 5.369 plus or minus acres, comprising of the following parcel of land as shown at the Town of Franklin's assessor's map, parcel number 287-074-000. The area to be rezoned is shown on the attached map. Proposed zoning map changes an area near Franklin Crossing. The foregoing zoning bylaw amendment shall take effect in accordance with the Franklin Home Rule Charter and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5.
Move bylaw amendment 24-913 to the planning board.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the map is up on the screen. What we're talking about here is the 305 Union, the mill store. The business zone is right there. The proposal is to move it to C1. This is one of the most exciting opportunities we've had for redevelopment in my 9 years here, where there looks to be some additional housing units in that redevelopment project. Brian's going to go through a couple of the details really quick. Thank you.
Brian?
Thank you. The Department of Planning and Community Development has been talking with Casey Kellman and Rick Kaplan from K Commercial Real Estate Services about redevelopment of 305 Union Street. The property is on the market, and the company has been looking at the possibility of a mixed-use development at that site. There would be at least some commercial, and it would probably be more residential than commercial or industrial. There's over 95,000 square feet of space there. They would be demolishing some smaller wooden structures and keeping the main brick structures intact, maybe restoring the buildings. So what they need really to make that happen, to make the numbers work, is actually be able to utilize it for mixed use, including residential. Without a residential component, there's very little they can do with that property to redevelop in an effective way. So I wanted to note that back in 2017, there was a rezone in that section of town. And at that time, we had proposed, as my department, but as a town at the time, to rezone that parcel to C1, commercial, to commercial 1, which is what we're doing today.
And the owners said, no, we want it to be zoned business. It was, at the time, it was half industrial, half business. It was a split parcel. And so we said, well, okay, I mean, I think it's your interest to go with C1, but if you're really firm about this, no problem. We'll put it on, we'll amend the map, we'll go with business. Well, now we're 7 years later, and they're trying to redevelop it. They want to sell it, and the redevelopment needs C1, essentially, to do what they want to do with the property. I know that Rick Kaplan was going to, I don't know if he's online, but he was going to be watching in one way or the other. So, I don't know if you want to hear a couple of words on what they're proposing before you go forward with this?
We could do it when they comes back from the planning board, too.
Yeah, when it comes back.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine, okay. Right now, we just want to refer to planning board for a public hearing and start the discussion on that change.
Thank you, Brian. Questions from the council?
I don't have a
Councilor
question,
Hamlin.
I just wanted
Or
to
a statement.
explain a little bit.
Sure.
So the, Rick came in front of the EDC, and he had, the proposal is really to add townhouses and few apartments, but mostly townhouses. Is not gonna add a height to it at all. So his proposal is really great. I think if we can help this happen, it would be really helpful for that area.
Thank you, Councilor
Thank you.
Hamlin.
So
Councilor
that-
DeLoco.
That's the old mill store where they just took down the chimney,
Jim,
right?
right.
Yeah.
Great place for housing. You
Right.
imagine that, me saying that? It's a great place for housing. Right, now that's where the housing should go.
Thank you, Councilor DeLoco. Any other, Councilor Cormier Ledger?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is just a clarification. So commercial one, by definition, then allows mixed use?
Correct. It allows multifamily residential. It also allows
Mixed use.
Okay.
commercial development and restaurants and
So
other
it's sort of a broad, allows the developer
Correct,
to do a
correct.
variety of things.
If you end up passing the other amendment that you discussed earlier, which adds in the mixed use,
Yeah.
C1 would be allowed by right. Yeah.
Okay.
The mixed use would be allowed.
I just wanted to make sure we were, by definition, talking about the same thing. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Anybody else?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Councilor Pellegrini.
So you're saying leave the main building, this is saying leave the main building, but all those small ones in the back are all gonna be taken down?
The exact development proposal is not firmed up yet, obviously, but what they're saying they would like to do is there's three large mill buildings, they're brick mill buildings. They want to keep all three. In between some of those are wooden structures that were added on to connect buildings and things. It's likely they will be demolishing those sections
Okay.
because they're less reusable at the moment. In the back, there's one small industrial building left. The rest are already gone. There's one small industrial building. They may demolish that, I'm not sure. In the front parking area, there's a couple of small wooden structures.
Sure.
They may
Yeah.
decide to demolish those or relocate them. But right now, they want to be able to get the zoning in place so they can make plans for the future of the property.
Okay.
Councilor Pellegrini, you still have the floor.
Well, I'm just thinking, so the main mill store, is it proposed to put an addition on the top, go up higher?
No,
No.
Okay,
no increases in the size of the buildings. They'll end up with less square footage of building in the end. It'll be just totally renovated and changed around.
and what would they wanna put in that building?
They are talking about the possibility of a two-story, it's a two-story structure there, a two-story townhouse, about 6 in a row, where you literally could drive into
Underneath.
the building
Yeah.
and park, and then walk upstairs to your apartment. So that's just a concept at this point, and it would need to go to planning board for any of those things.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Any other councilors? Okay. Seeing no further discussion, the vote will come on the motion to refer bylaw amendment 24-913 to the planning board. Again, a majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bylaw amendment 24-909, chapter 139, sewers, grease traps. First reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
I just like the way you said that. Sewers.
Sewers.
So, bylaw amendment 24-909, chapter 139, sewers. A bylaw to amend the Code of Town of Franklin at chapter 139 sewers. Be enacted by the Franklin Town Council at chapter 139 sewers, and the Code of the Town of Franklin is amended as follows. Subsection 139-2, definitions. Add new and revised definitions inserted in proper alphabetical order with existing definitions as follows. Pretreatment, the reduction of the amount of pollutants and/or the fogs, the elimination of pollutants, fogs, or the alteration of the nature of pollutant properties in wastewater to less harmful state prior to or in lieu of discharging or otherwise including such pollutants into the facility. The reduction of alteration can be obtained by physical, chemical, or biological processes. Processes, changes, or other means except as prohibited by 40 CFR 403.6D. Commercial kitchens, food service establishments, any facility preparing and/or serving food for commercial
Motion to waive
use
the reading.
or sale, including but not limited
Motion and a
to.
second to waive the reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
What do you wait?
It's only 6
Jamie,
pages
could,
long.
or
Yeah, no.
somebody want to give us a brief summary here?
This is a house cleaning item, no pun intended, because this bylaw is to codify in town code the grease trap policy that the town DPW, Water Sewer Department, and Board of Health have had in place for 20 years. So I see it as a house cleaning item, but ultimately, if folks have questions about the substance of it, the town has not changed any of the metrics over this, but if anybody has any questions, Mike and Brutus and Doug deal with this just about every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
I move the amendment now. The bylaw, I mean. Can I, please?
Yeah.
Move bylaw amendment 24-909 to a second reading. 4 o'clock comes early.
Second. Second, I said second.
Motion and a second.
Let's go.
Council Plegry, did you have a question about this?
No.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just a quick comment.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, thank you through the chair. It's just really what this does is just actually writes down for people to understand what's happening, what's expected of them, and how do we protect the infrastructure. Now it will be written down so people can read it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Any further discussion? Attorney Sorrell?
It makes what has been a policy legally enforceable if anybody gives us a challenge to it.
Oh, okay.
Great. Thank you, Mark.
Your legal side.
Any other questions from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to move bylaw amendment 24-909 to a second reading. A majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 24-37, authorization to extend lease with Cellco Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless for a wireless communications facility on Upper Union Street water tank. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-37, authorization to extend lease with Cellco Partnership doing business as Verizon Wireless for wireless communication facilities on Upper Union Street water tank. Whereas the Franklin Town Council by Resolution 17-56 authorized the town administrator to lease the exterior of Upper Union Street water tank to commercial wireless communication providers for up to 20 years, and whereas pursuant to said authorization, the town administrator executed a lease agreement with Cellco Partnership DBA Verizon Wireless for an initial 5-year term with options for the town to extend for an additional 3 years, 5-year periods, subject to town council votes, and whereas the initial 5-year term has expired, wow, and it is in the town's financial interest to continue to receive this rental revenue. Now therefore be it voted by the Franklin Town Council that the town administrator is hereby authorized to execute an extension of this lease agreement with Cellco Partnership DBA Verizon Wireless for a wireless communication facility on the Upper Union Street water tank for an additional 5-year term at an annual rent which is not less than the annual rent during the initial lease term, and upon such other terms and conditions as the town administrator determines to be in the town's best interest. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-37.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion, Jamie.
The agreement requires the council to vote to continue to authorize another 5-year lease. Because this is on the water tower, the money goes into the local receipts and the fees budget for the Water Enterprise Fund. And Julie and I put together the cost out here of what the 3% incremental fee is over the next 5 years. Pretty self-explanatory.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Cormier Ledger.
To my earlier comment, Mr. Chairman, through you to the town administrator, if there's any possibility, as this contract is being put together or the discussions are happening, to better the coverage throughout Franklin for cell service through this, I know a lot of businesses and residents would appreciate it because there are far too many drop call zones throughout Franklin, complete blackout areas that Verizon is aware of and unwilling to do anything about. So if possible, I don't know if the equipment on top of the water tower could be improved. I don't know if they could just do something, as part of this, but that would be extremely helpful. So,
Yeah.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
To Councilor Cormier
Jamie.
Ledger's point, 100% accurate, obviously. The biggest change that's coming, and I was going to announce it in a little bit, we finally, after a couple of years, Mark knows where I'm going with this, and a good big shout out to Mr. Gus Brown over here at the ZBA and the building commissioner, and Brika Lai. We have finally been able to get the tower on the north side of town licensed. So what does that mean? Over off of Bent Street, the town was going to build its own tower. Remember 4 years ago on a municipal piece of land?
Oh, yeah, man.
And I talked to the developer and said, wait a minute, why are we building 2 towers like a quarter of a mile away from each other, and then we're going to compete for the same revenue streams on top? He said he'll give us the first 40 feet of that tower for free for public safety, because that is a huge gap on the north side of town. And like we learned during the pandemic, during remote learning, the north side of town is by far the worst dead zone in town. So now today, just before I came down here, I finally, after years of negotiation and permitting, I finally just did sign the lease. That'll be going to the developer tomorrow. He'll be able to sign his portion of the lease, and what is anticipated is that those cell companies will bid on that tower and get, whatever they get for the top 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, or whatever. But at least we have a dedicated free section for the regional dispatch and fire and police up at the top of that tower. So we're giving that free of charge, and just for the life of the tower. So that'll never change, and that really will go towards a huge part of the dropped calls on the northern quarter to northern third of Franklin. So, and to your question on this, we will definitely talk to them, but just so folks know, Verizon's now in the business of actually consolidating their sites. And so I've got to do what I got to do with them here, but I will talk to the agents and see what we can do. On the
I think Councilor
tower.
Cormier Ledger would like Verizon to have the top of that tower.
Yes, preferential treatment can be given.
Whichever one has the worst service.
Yeah.
I get the top.
Yeah.
Councilor Jones, quickly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is, again, kind of falls in line with what I do anyways. But isn't Verizon kind of moving away from the larger towers and more local 5G antennas in the neighborhoods?
Yeah.
Is that not the case?
Probably eventually, but we're in a dead zone on this, you know, where they're moving away. I think that's what the consolidation program is. They may end up dropping us on this tower. They very well could. We don't know. They have a lease for 2 more 5-year renewals, so we hope to keep it for at least 10 more years, kind of like the other Verizon agreement. You know, we still think that water tower spot is probably one of the best spots in Franklin and in the area, given the location and the height. But you know, we've never had any conversations, and they've never initiated a single thing with us on the 5G cells. You know, neighborhood by neighborhood. So I'm sure someday they'll just show up.
That's my thought.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-37. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 24-38, acceptance of gifts, Veteran Service Department, $762, Senior Center, $745. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-38, acceptance of gifts, Veteran Services Department and Senior Center. Whereas the Veteran Services Department and Franklin Senior Center have received generous donations in a total amount of $1,507 to be used at the discretion of each department as follows. Donation summary, Veteran Services Department, $762, donation to be used at the discretion of the Veteran Services Department through the Veterans Gift Fund in support of local veterans and their family. Senior Center, $745, donations to be applied to the discretion of the Senior Center through the Council of Aging Gift Fund to provide services and programs to senior citizens in the Franklin community. The list of all donors is included on the June 5th, 2024 Town Council meeting agenda packet. Now therefore be resolved that the Town Council, Town of Franklin, on behalf of Veteran Services Department and the Senior Center gratefully accepts this generous donation to be used at the discretion of each department for the purposes noted above. This resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move Resolution 24-38.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie?
Thank you very much.
Just thank you very much to all of the people who continue to donate in organizations. Sure, Councilor Pellegrini.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. We usually have these amounts and all on the resolution. And it doesn't state that this is an attachment.
Yes, it does.
It just states that it's included in the
Attachment.
meeting minutes.
To be honest with you, Councilor Pellegrini, I believe you. I don't recall it being all in the resolution. I don't think people's names,
Yeah.
like Jane Smith, $20. Mark, I don't think we ever did that, did we?
This format's been in place for quite a while now.
No. Let's look it up and see. I'll go along with this time. But they are all listed.
Yeah.
On the
Okay.
resolution, it's listed.
All right.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-38. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. My favorite of all resolutions, Resolution 24-39, cable funds in support of PEG service and programming per Mass General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 53 and F3/4. Clerk will read the resolution.
Motion to waive the reading.
Second.
All in favor of waiving the reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move Resolution 24-39.
Second.
Motion and a second to move Resolution 24-39. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Town Administrator's Report.
Couple of great notes, Mr. Chairman, per the housing conversation earlier. I want to commend and give a shout out to Representative Roy. Amy and I just got the email. The House passed a housing bond bill of $6.5 billion. And included in that was a $3 million appropriation for Franklin Ridge. So we're slowly So thank you, Jeff. In July, Brian left, and he doesn't know this yet, but he's going to do a housing presentation on overall housing stock in town, just to give everybody an update, and also an update on Franklin Ridge, that project as well. Just want to congratulate Pam Vickery for getting recertified on her procurement exam. Want to congratulate the fire department for getting $9,800 in another SAFE grant. Want to congratulate Stacy Castell, our Deputy HR Director, for completing her MMHR certificate. She was the first in the inaugural class. Want to thank the crisis response team, Mike Kalecki, Callie Montagano, Carolyn Ferris, and the entire staff for getting their certifications on crisis management. And I know I had on the agenda the migrant housing update. I just want to address a few things that have percolated up recently. It was the perfect time for an update. Many people have said to me, why is nothing new on the Board of Health site since last November? Because there was nothing new to report. Things down at the hotel were fairly stable for a while, at least from a standpoint of the state. A few weeks ago, I do have a substantial update now though. A few weeks ago, the National Guard and the other state staff, as well as any community volunteers, have now been dismissed from the site. They've been relieved because the state has now contracted with an entity called the Commonwealth Care Alliance, and they are now managing the hotel in perpetuity. I've asked for a copy of the lease. I still have not received one. Rep. Roy is helping us out getting that. In March of this year in the lease, it was supposed to be an acknowledgement of whether or not the hotel was going to continue for a renewal for next year. Obviously, it is staying the way it is for a while. We cannot confirm whether or not it's going to be a whole nother year, but we would anticipate at least the next 6 months. Like I said, and I just got to send out a huge shout out. I'm sure I'm going to forget folks, but the Interfaith Coalition, the Safe Coalition, the Food Pantry, the Franklin Public Schools, the Franklin Public Library, the Federated Church, dozens, if not hundreds of volunteers, just doing what they can to try to stabilize that environment. As we've all talked about, the state, in our opinion, dropped the ball on this early on, but the Franklin community rallied around the folks at the hotel and did a fantastic job. I can't say enough about all those organizations, particularly the first 6 months that hotel was going. People ask me all the time, if the schools received any money. The schools have received $585,000. The town of Franklin, from our budget, the municipal side of the budget, has never spent $1 on this issue. I got asked that question today at the senior center that Councillor Pellegrini is at. I get asked it all the time. Obviously, the situation in Norfolk has resulted likely in a lot more phone calls that have come into Franklin, which is fine. We're happy to answer them. The state did commit early on to paying whatever the costs were for the school district. My guess is that there was an appropriation made maybe a month or so ago. I think the governor signed the law a month ago in terms of some increased funding through the state for all these issues. I just need to make sure everybody in the community, because everyone calls me and they immediately basically start grilling me and kind of yelling at me about why is the town spending all this money and why are we doing this? And I just need to always correct the record where it's possible. There's no local tax dollars going to benefits or cars or whatever else people are out there seeing. That is all state money. The town of Franklin has no jurisdiction on this matter. We have no say in the matter. We were happy to do our part where we could, but now there's a new entity, the Commonwealth Care Alliance, that's up there full-time, all around the clock, managing the parcel. Kathy Liberty is still managing this issue for us. She's been doing a fantastic job, and Amy's been helping us out a little bit too. And they're in constant communication on like a weekly basis with Kathy just to check in. So the communication is still flowing. And I also want to make sure, Councillor Pellegrini heard me say this today, I've gotten inundated with phone calls the last 2 or 3 days and emails from people that have alleged and are believing that this override next week has something to do with the emergency shelter up at the hotel.
Good God.
It absolutely has nothing to do with it. And I firmly understand why people may believe that, particularly with what's going on in Norfolk right now. I just wanted to clear the record. I just wanted, while people are listening, if they're even still awake and I'm running away, You know, and also the last point I want to make is the town was made fully whole with the hotel tax.
Oh, we were, that's my
Yes.
question.
So, the hotel tax was fully paid by the state. Wasn't always easy, but we got it done, and that's really good news for the town.
That's good news.
A year ago, we were worried about these issues,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to try to give an update to close the loop on a lot of questions all of you get, but a lot of questions the last few days have really bumped in the phone calls and emails for some reason, and asking all these questions, and hopefully that update provides a good substance for everybody. Kathy is working on the website, by the way. We did talk to her, and we're gonna try to get some of this material and some of the other updates up there as well, so we can provide all those facts for people. So I put it on the agenda in case people had questions, but I hope that answered all of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, let's see, subcommittee reports, capital hasn't met. EDC, no. Budget hasn't. Master plan,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the
Mr. Jones.
The Master Plan Committee will be meeting next week, June 12th, as part of a public forum that everyone is invited to come to, for those, again, that are awake right now, to listen to all of the hard work around the goals and objectives of the master plan. We invite everybody to join us. That includes everyone sitting right here, to sit in and kind of give their input on what has been the compilation of all the various goals and objectives that our subcommittees on the master plan have been working very diligently on, based on the public's input.
Thank you, Councilor
Thank you,
Jones.
Mr. Chairman.
Davis Thayer reuse, I think you have a meeting coming up.
We have a meeting coming up on Monday, what's the date?
Jamie, is it Monday the 11th?
Monday the 10th.
10th.
The 10th, okay.
Right before the election.
And Police Station Building Committee, we haven't met. GATRA Advisory Board?
Haven't
anything
met,
to-
no.
Okay, great. Future agenda items. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Nothing at this time, sir.
Councilor Chandler.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Pellegrini.
Nothing.
Councilor Sheridan.
Nothing.
Councilor Frangillo.
Only thing, if we deem it appropriate, Rabbi Tom Alpert is leaving after 12 years at the head of our temple in town. He's been very involved both in the Franklin Interfaith Council and the Franklin Freedom Team. If there's an opportunity to recognize him in some form.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
We can do that, for sure. Thank you. Councilor Hamblin?
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Jones?
Yes, sir.
Councilor DeLorco?
I mean, we got the status on the town. How about the school with the migrants? I've been asking about that for somebody to come in and say that, because I heard it's well, I shouldn't say it,
No.
that kind of a show up here.
I am not going to obviously speak for the superintendent. I will say this, whether or not people are right or wrong, I don't know what the allegations are. What's hard for me these days is I hear a lot of rumors all the time that are totally misleading and not factual. I'm sure there are issues here or there, but there are issues with people who aren't migrants also. I don't know where the line in the sand is on it. We've obviously been busy with the budget. I will talk to the superintendent and ask him if there's a report that he can give or something like that to try to ask those questions about, is it behavioral? Is that what?
Yeah.
Behavioral teachers quitting, aides quitting, I mean, they're just not gonna deal with it anymore.
I've never heard anything like that.
No.
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just
I know
saying
it's
I've
not
never
wrong.
heard it.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're probably quitting because of the budget.
Okay. Let's see. We'll move to councilor comments. Who hasn't gone first in a while? Councilor Hamblin.
Like, is there anybody awake out there? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to thank Councilor Cormier Ledger and the LGBTQ community for the flag raising ceremony on June 1st. It was very nice. I enjoyed it immensely. And it's my favorite time of the year when the farmer's market starts. So everybody go down to the town common on
Help out.
Fridays and get
Help out.
your mead
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Try your mead, okay.
I will.
Like honey wine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Chandler.
Oh, wow, thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman. Well, obviously, everyone's going to say this, so I'll just say it first. We did a lot tonight, but next Tuesday, June 11th, is what it's all about. Please go vote. Come down. Do your thing, whether you want yes, whether you want no. Just come and vote, please. That's it. Thank
Let
you.
your voices be heard, for sure.
Right.
Councilor Frangillo.
Amazing flag raising. Excited for Pride Day on the 22nd. Amazing Porch Fest. Just another example of how much work is done by, this time, really like nameless volunteers for the most part, to put on an event where thousands of Franklin residents just had a time walking between homes. It brought people downtown. It brought people to different neighbors at little to no expense to the town. Also, a shout out to our arts and culture director, who did a fantastic job marketing it everywhere, which really helped boost the attendance there. And quickly, if you'll allow me, change affects everyone. Change in town affects everyone. I happen to mention this at the Economic Development Committee. My grandmother owned a little white dress shop at the Mill store, and it's some of my first Franklin memories. I mean, it was a really special place to me, in the first place that I connected to my grandmother. She passed away 15 years ago today. Oh, sorry. Anyway, sorry.
It's okay, no problem.
All right.
I miss her. This place was special to me. Change happens, but it's important to remember what was there and the memories we've had. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Pellegri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too certainly would say something about June 11th to vote. And either way you're voting, most importantly is just to get out there. And I want to thank Nancy, our town clerk, for all the hard work she has done and is doing a wonderful job. The Strawberry Festival is Friday, and I want to invite everyone up to the museum for our wedding gown display. We have many gowns up there on mannequins from the 1800s all the way through, and it's just a great display. When you walk in that front door and you go in there and you see all these gowns, it looks like these people are there, and they're just, greeting you. And it's really nice. And my gown, my daughter's gown, and my mother's gown is up there. So we have a 3 generations, so please look at that. And let's see, and then today at the meeting, over at the senior center, I kept hearing about the police station being built at the Parmenter School. When was this decided?
It's not yet.
Nothing's
But
been
you didn't
decided.
say that it
It was
wasn't
in the-
decided. You said that, we've already hired someone, we're doing this and that. Does that have to come before the council?
Eventually.
Yeah.
I know it, but shouldn't it come that we agree upon the location and all that?
You
I
you
mean-
do,
Pardon?
but you do, and we'll do a site analysis through town, but I'm gonna tell you, there's very few sites.
No, I certainly agree with you and all of that, but I had to agree with the people saying that they're hearing it's going there, and under my breath, I'm saying.
Well, it was in the
I
MOU.
didn't know for sure either.
It was in the MOU.
Yes, but it hasn't come before us, and we've never seen
Not-
minutes from the building committee.
Nothing's been cast in stone. It has been suggested that the land may come back to the town
Yeah,
from the Parmenter School to be possibly used for a police station.
But
That's
ha-
all.
but has the building committee?
No.
Decided
No,
that there
no,
needs to be?
no,
Are
no.
we jumping the,
No,
whatever it's called?
no,
No?
no.
Well,
Well-
today. It just seemed like everybody thought it was going.
Can't, it-
Nothing has been decided.
They asked about the MOU,
I didn't think so.
Councilor Poigrey.
Pardon?
They asked about the MOU.
Yes. No, I know that.
That's how it came up.
And then a few other people brought it up, the location and the amount of land and all of this. It just seemed like it was a little step above what we even know here, so.
Nothing,
That's
nothing,
okay.
nothing has gone through the committee yet.
Where do I start? Thank you, Mr.
Okay, Councilor Jones.
Believe it or not, I'm too tired.
Okay, Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Seems like about 10 hours ago there were kids here singing, so thank you. Thank you to them, bon voyage to them. They did a great job as always, and they did a fantastic job at the Pride Flag raising event too. Electric Youth always comes through for us. Thank you to everybody that was able to attend from the council, from school committee, town officials, the community. It was a great day. Porch Fest was awesome. Thank you, Shannon Nisbet and the entire team that put together a great Memorial Day celebration. That also seems like such a long time ago, but it really wasn't, between the breakfast and the parade and the festivities. Congratulations to all of our Franklin High and vocational technical graduates. Sorry I wasn't able to be there Friday night, but we did have a death in the family, but I congratulate all of them. And also, finally, congratulations to all the kids. Every middle school has been doing an end-of-the-year concert, and I was able to go to the Horseman Middle School concert last night, and the kids did a fantastic job. So please know we're doing everything we can to make sure that those programs continue, which leads to, please, 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 if you haven't voted, vote on the 11th. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Councilor Sheridan?
Just adding with the gowns, one of the gowns was made by Country Virgilia's grandmother at where the old mill store was.
Ah,
And also congratulations to the girls track team. They won.
yes,
They-
state champion.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Councilor Sheridan. Councilor DeLorco?
what was I gonna say? Now, I really don't have much to say, but you know what? You know what I will say? Thank Yvette, because June 6th in another hour, there was a bunch of the greatest generation that all landed on Normandy, where these young kids are going. And so in about 5 hours, they were parachuting into Normandy. The reason why we're sitting here speaking is because of them, so think of them tomorrow. They lost like 10,000 people that day.
Thank you, Councilor DeLorco. And I would just reiterate everything that my fellow councilors have said. Porch Fest was great. Raising of the Pride Flag was a wonderful event as well. And thank you for everybody that has put all their time and effort into those events. Strawberry Stroll this weekend, and I would be remiss if I didn't wish my mother a happy 96th birthday tomorrow. I hope I have some of those genes, but happy birthday to her. And I know people, I'd like people who are listening on repeat, because they're certainly not going to be listening right now.
Nope.
But I'd just like to state that over the last month, our administrative teams, both on the municipal part of our government and the school part of our government, have received hundreds of emails with questions, and trying to respond to all of those emails, as well as every counselor and every school committee member has received hundreds of emails, and it's very difficult to respond to every one of them. And I just ask folks for their indulgence and understanding that there's just so many emails, there's so many hours in the day, and we just can't get to every single one of them. But I assure you, they are read. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Non-debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Recording